Ooh, very sudden. Hola, boa noite. Munson here with Feelgood Portugal, our Saturday night show. This is a slightly different headset. Might sound a bit different. Mrs. M's got the best kit on the other side of the desk tonight. We're trying something a little bit different. Hope you are well. Who's here this evening? Do say hello in the comments if you will. Some of you are already doing that. Excellent stuff. I will get used to this. This is it's like being a sports commentator, isn't it? Well, what did you think of that, Jeff? I'll get used to this. What did you think of that, Mrs.? Oh, she's gone to make me a cup of tea. So, Deagle's here this evening. We do want to talk about Halloween. We want to talk about Samhain. We want to talk about All Saints. And we want to talk about All Souls as well. I need to get those in the right order. And I actually need your help on that, quite frankly, because the dominant celebration, if we can call it that, or the dominant marketing ploy at the moment is obviously the Halloween part, isn't it? But Samhain is the origin of Halloween, as I understand it, and we have a holiday on Monday, which is All Saints, and then All Souls Day is November the 2nd. If I have my facts correctly, and I would welcome your input, especially I defer obviously to the wonderful Portuguese people who might be listening tonight, and to let me know the tradition in Portugal and how us expats might observe that correctly. Another festival from this time of year, of course, is Diwali, and Pretty will be joining us. Pretty, who is in central Portugal, an expat here, will be joining us to talk about Diwali as well. So isn't that wonderful? So many festivals, so many celebrations. And really, we can have a little bit of a chat, can't we, about, how is it that the Halloween one seems to dominate? I think we know the answer, but following on from that, how do we reinstate the magic and glory of those other festivals and the origins of the celebrations of this time of year, where, as I understand it, essentially what's going on is the veils are thin between the world of the living and the world of the ancestors and the world of the dead. And of course, this is celebrated in the Mexican Day of the Dead around this time of year as well. Happy to be put right on any facts here. Fact check me and let me know what your view is on this. So let's say hello to a few folks. Mrs. M will be joining me. Pretty will be joining us as well from Central Portugal. So she'll be able to answer your questions about life in Central Portugal too. Okay, Deagle's here. Good night, Carl and Louisa. Happy Halloween from a chilly Belfast, 7 degrees, but it's dry tonight. Lots of fireworks. Children trick or treat earlier at the door. So, Deagle, I do hope you give them some nice candy. Or did you say no? What was that thing we were saying was it on Thursday or Friday? Trick or treat, smell your feet. Did you give them that option? I wonder. But great to hear from you. And what a lovely, from the photos you've shown me previously, what a lovely way you and your family honor Halloween. And do you honor it in a way that also takes in Samhain and All Souls or All Saints as well? Do let us know more. Jack Polly is here. Bon night, in bed, tired and sleepy. It's a bit like that in Portugal, isn't it? It's not been the May West of the weather, so to speak, the best of the weather. Very windy and rainy. We have a friend who I think is stuck in Lisbon because they were a bit uncertain about making the journey back down to the south of Portugal today. Out with the dogs this morning, and there was an advertising hoarding. Hey, can I have my sound system? Mrs. M moving things around the studio. Look, here's my... Anyone have one of these when they were younger? Maybe I should do my jingles through that. Yes, advertising hoarding blown right off. Eucalyptus debris everywhere. So it was a very windy and rainy night last night. And I think we've got a little bit of that to come over the next couple of days here in Portugal. And I heard in my native UK, there's a yellow weather warning all across the south of England. So a rather... fearsome looking weather pattern at the moment. Cindy B is here, and well, good night to you, Jackie. If you sweet dreams, Jackie. If you're already asleep and you're just hearing this through the subconscious, Cindy B, blessed Samhain. Thank you, Cindy B. Now, what makes you say that? Why do you say it? And do you have an especially autumnal picture? Do I see there on your YouTube? Please tell us more about Samhain as you might understand it and celebrate it, if you will. Thank you very much. And chilly in Texas tonight, I see there. Marty's here as well. Bon night from What? Are you seriously in Caldas, Marty? That's amazing. Just down the road. How long have you been in Portugal now? And how are you finding Caldas? Not its gloriously sunny best, right? Tell us more, please. That surprised me a little bit. Maybe I did know. Maybe I'm tired. It's been a busy day today, doing a lot of home improvement around the house. But Marty, that's great news. Boa noite from Caldas. Great. Emmanuel Branco. Hi. Good evening. Hi. Hola. Good evening to you. Boa noite. Boa noite to you as well, Emmanuel. And Nubianette with an hola. And I'm so pleased with myself. You know what? I'm going to do one of these right back at you because I have learnt how to do the accent. We were talking to Mia on Friday, Mia Esmerish of the Learn European Portuguese Language Academy. And between us, we figured out how to do an hola. So I'm going to do that for you now. I am so pleased with that. Alt-Ger is the way to do it. So there's my hola right back at you. We are not on Facebook. How do we break that to people? Because they might be we're stopping broadcasting on Facebook. Not a response to Meta, although what are they thinking? What are your thoughts about Zuckerberg and et al. And their vision for the future? Seems really bizarre to me. I'm sure Mrs. M will have something to say about that. Yes, just talk about Meta, love. Oh, Pretty is limbering up as well in the green room. She'll be with us in a moment. She is at a one-woman festival of light. That's a beautiful light show behind you, Pretty. We'll come to you in just a moment. Mrs. M has got a camera over there, but I seem to have lost her. Everything okay on the other side of the desk?
The phone went to sleep.
Oh, I see. Is it working again now? Let's see if you can make that work. It's on Chrome, and the StreamYard link is in Messenger on that phone over there. I hope that works for you. Aren't people out off trick-or-treating due to the ongoing pandemic? As in, are they not meant to be, Emmanuel? And are they anyway? I'm not sure. We haven't had any knocks on our door tonight. No children, but I don't think people. Well, it's not the 31st yet, for one thing. So maybe it's a Saturday night thing because that's when the kids are at home and it's the middle of the weekend and they don't have. It's not a school day, so they might be trick or treating tonight. But surely tomorrow night is the night. It rained waterfalls today in Caldas. Loved it, says Marty. Fantastic. Put off, yeah. Well, you would think so, wouldn't you, Emmanuel? I don't know. I haven't had any personal experience. I don't intend to go trick-or-treating myself, but not because of the pandemic. Because I just don't want to mug people on their doorstep. I don't encourage my children to do the same thing. Diego, Carlo, Monday in Ireland is a holy day of obligation. You're expected to go to Mass for your dead relatives. Also, November, we remember our dead in general. Well, okay, so this is a general trend then, isn't it? Mexico, Portugal, and it would appear in Ireland as well. We've got a little visitor, Mrs. M. Shall I just talk to Pretty while you take care of it?
I might give him some milk.
Oh, I see. We might be able to do that. Okay, so let's bring Pretty on. Good evening to you, Pretty. How are you? Oh, we need to unmute, or you need to unmute you, I think, at your end.
I need to.
There you go. That's it. Perfect.
Is that?
You've done it. You've done it. You're live and no, you've muted yourself again.
Forget technology is not my friend. Okay.
You did it. You did it. And how are you?
Yeah, good. Enjoying the rain.
Enjoying them, yes, of course. So in central Portugal, could you? This is Feelgood Portugal, of course, part of the whole Expats Portugal project, and we'd love to learn a little bit about where people are in Portugal if they've already become expats. Could you tell us a little bit about your part of central Portugal?
Yeah, well, probably the most exciting news at the moment is just up the road. They're filming House of Dragons, the prequel to Game of Thrones. That's kind of interesting.
Yes. But, anyone in the family get an extra?
Well, we're trying our best. I think if Marnie wants to get in, it would be great, but they got over 17s.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here he is.
Good evening, Marley. And sorry, what's the prequel called of Game of Thrones? House of Dragons,
I think it's House of Dragons. Yeah, House of Dragons. So that's kind of exciting. But it's quite
Marley.
nice.
Hello.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Hi.
Good luck getting the part in the movie. So you might see this may well be a future superstar here for the prequel of Game of Thrones. House of Dragons. He's just going to go and get a biscuit. All right, very good. Yeah, fair enough. So yes,
it's nice here. There's a really good community. I think that's what I love about it because it's quite vast. I think you can connect with people. There's a lot of like-minded people that are really into growing their own vegetables and sharing. There's a lot of, we've got singing circles, things like that. So it's really nice. Enjoying really
yes, absolutely. I'm trying to,
Oh.
obviously, Mrs. M, I'm trying to join her onto the screen. She shows up in the green room as being there, but then she disappears when I add her.
I saw myself on the screen for about 2 minutes.
She's an enigmatic.
She disappears when I add.
Oh, I see. We'll have to remove that. Okay, well, we'll see what we can do about that a little bit later on. So, yes, and very wet at the moment in your part of Portugal. Oh,
it's very
look at that.
And he's got a biscuit, I think. So it's kind of, it's been a bit stormy, but not as bad as we've had, because we're sort of at the foothills of the mountains. So it gets quite windy, and the storm, when it hits, you can have a lot of lightning and stuff. It's not too bad. It's just rain at the moment, but the track gets really difficult because we live down quite a long track, and it's not maintained, by as it should be, as it could be. So once it rains, you're sort of hemmed in. Yeah, a bit like Australia at times.
If you're open to woofers who can come and take care of the track, you could do an advert now if you wanted to, but I'll leave that. I'll leave that with you. But it sounds fantastic. Living down a track in central Portugal, how exciting is that?
Yeah, it's good. And lots of boulders. I find that's really interesting. Like, got really, like we're not in Monsanto. We're kind of in Alpedrinha, but the stones are so ancient. You've got these really Jurassic boulders, and it's very beautiful.
So quite evocative and moody at the moment for Halloween.
For Halloween?
Yeah. Sounds like it might be the perfect backdrop for Halloween. But that's not why you're here. That's not why you've joined us. You've joined us to talk about the other festival at this time of Diwali, right?
Yeah, Diwali. Yeah, so I grew up in, sort of indoctrinated into the Hindu faith.
The indie version of Christmas.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bit like Christmas for Hindus. So it's a festival of lights. You do. He loves to come up with ideas for the food. So it's a bit like, I don't know what's similar. It's like Christmas. You get ready, you clean out the house completely, but you have to make sure all the lights are on in every room. That's what my mum would always do, because you're welcoming. It's like the symbolism of Diwali is that overcoming darkness, light overcoming darkness, or good over evil. So it's the victory of good over evil. So it's really positive. And the main, the key story that I always remember is about, do you know the story of Rama and Sita?
Well, I have a vague recollection, but it's going to be better if you do it for sure.
Oh, well, I'll try my best. But basically, the Prince Rama was exiled into the forest for 14 years by his father, because he made a promise to his wife, was the stepmother of Rama. And anyway, so he exiles his own son, and after 14 years, Rama is with his wife Sita and his brother Lakshman, and they overcome this demon king who's got 10 heads, Ravana, and they come back. So that's the other part of the celebration. So you're sort of welcoming, the rightful heir to the throne back and things like that. So yeah.
Beautiful. So good triumph.
That's it. And actually really, really interesting, really good. I recommend you watch, if you don't know the story, Sita. Have you heard of Sita Sings the Blues?
That's a great movie.
I don't know, but Marley likes it by the sound of it.
He did like it. It's quite a trippy, it's kind of, Sita Sings the Blues is a modern version with songs and it's a cartoon, it's an animation, but it's absolute genius. It was quite controversial, I think, when it came out, because it's done in a very interesting way. I think it's brilliant. So it's worth seeing. Sita Sings Blues. You can see it on YouTube.
And that will put it into perspective for people.
If you have an old laptop, you won't be able to listen to the songs.
Oh, okay.
Oh, where's that?
If you have an old laptop, you won't be able to listen. But why?
Oh, okay. Why is that, Marley?
It didn't work. Oh, yeah, my laptop's old, so it didn't work.
Yeah, okay. Well, well, we might have a whip round and send Marley the CD then of the music on there. So how are you? Are you getting full on preparing yourself for Diwali at home? And are you going to mix it up with?
I always do. It's like, I know, it feels really, it's such a tradition growing up and for my whole life that even with my older kids, Em and Josh and New, we always just used to do a big feast and, do the prayers, you do puja, and yeah, I think it's really positive. And fireworks, that's another big part of it, is sparklers and a big celebration. Yeah.
Wow, is that the rain I can
You
hear
hear
on
the
your roof?
rain.
That's
That
amazing.
is the rain.
That's
It's really rain.
pretty serious rain in central Portugal tonight. That's awesome.
It's pretty serious.
So
Yeah.
the key theme with Diwali then, and there is definitely a theme developing here among all these festivals at this time of year, is triumph of good
Yeah.
over evil, and the importance of light over the dark. So is there also a connection between the world of the living and the ancestors in the past as well, or would that be a different ceremony in the Hindu faith?
I think so. Like, basically, in India, Diwali is celebrated not just by Hindus. It's just a complete nationwide. So I think Buddhists do celebrate it, Sikhs as well, but they're celebrating. I think it's one of the gurus or some sort of freedom that he achieved, and you've got I think it's Vaishnavism. There's so many of them that actually not focusing on Ram and Sita, but that premise of good over evil or freedom, or right thinking, right action, all of that. So it's kind of necessary, isn't it? And very often, actually, I've noticed there's a tie-in between Diwali and Hanukkah. They're kind of usually around the same time, or within a few weeks of each other. And that's also Festival of Light. So it's interesting. There's a crossover between all of these.
There is definitely a thread. There's definitely a thread here, isn't there? Yeah, for sure. And I suppose as well in the Southern Hemisphere, rather than us celebrating or preserving the light as we go into the dark, it's going to be the other way around in the Southern Hemisphere, isn't it? It's going to be the return of the light and celebration of the light from that point of view, presumably.
Yes, that's true, actually, isn't it? Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but definitely, because if we're going as far as Australia, it's summer, isn't it? Around this time, coming into summer, not winter.
Going into spring for sure. Yeah. Or going into summer. They will. Those listeners in that part of the world, viewers, will tell us. Mrs. M, how are you doing over there? What's going on?
I can't get in.
She can't get in. We can hear her, can't we?
If I switch off my cam, would that help?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's a different kind of issue that we've got. It was going so well. What I might do is when she's ready, might get Mrs. M to come around this side, and then I'll go and have a tinker around on the other side.
I'd love to be part of the conversation.
Well, just speak again for a moment, and we'll see if everybody can hear you.
I'd love to be part of the conversation.
Yes, well, of course, and you can invoice. You could phone in. We can hear your voice. Yes. Pretty, can you hear Mrs. M?
I can hear. Well, yeah, perfectly.
Have you got a question though?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was just mulling over. I mean, we're entering into a time of deep celebration, and obviously, first we've got Halloween, which is also known as Samhain, and also we've got All Hallows Eve or All Souls Night, or and there is this very strong sort of correlation with. You might lose me in a second because it's saying the site can't be reached, so I might just.
I'm hearing you.
But I'm a bit skeptical of Halloween. I really like the other ones around it, but I think the sort of like modern expression of Halloween is somewhat lacking. I really love the idea of the reverence of sharing. A toast to our ancestors and trying to understand them and giving thanks for them. And then I can see that it would logically lead into a festival of light. That feels really, really good. And I wanted to also say that Halloween reminds me a little bit of Nyepi, which is a Balinese festival. I don't know if I'm guessing it's Hindu, but it might just also be local to Bali. I don't know if it's something that you celebrate, but is it either February or March, the new moon around that time. And Nyepi is where people, all the Balinese are making a sort of massive monsters and ghouls, like really like 12-foot monsters and big floats. And all the community get together and they make all these monster representations. and then the night of the full moon, the new moon, they go out and they lead them all to a particular place, and then they burn all of these demons. And then the next day, they all stay in bed all day, and they keep all their.
Sounds like fun.
They don't put their lights on. They don't cook. They don't do anything, because what they're trying to do is burn and gather up all of the demons on the island, and they sort of like get rid of them. And then the next day, they pretend that nobody's home. So if there are any other demons around, they clear off to another place. And they leave the Balinese alone. So, I always think that's a little bit, there's something in that reminds me of Halloween. But again, that has a sort of like a good reason behind it.
Are you saying that Halloween is just far too commercial and superficial?
Well, yeah, a bit like, Christmas and Easter and, any festival that people could, buy cards from like Touch Note or any card manufacturer. There's so many. Sorry, you have to excuse me. I'm like feeding our 2-year-old. So I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts, Pretty?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the whole thing?
I think
Mowgli.
that you're right. I think that there's an aspect of like hijacking all of these things to commercialize them. But like with Halloween, even, I think, what you're saying is the side of it that's All Saints Day, which is Monday, isn't it? It's the day after. So it's kind of like there's a similarity. And in Mexico, you've got the Day of the Dead, where you're actually, there's an aspect that is honoring the ancestors and embracing life. So it's like you're recognizing the journey of your ancestors that's brought you to this point, and you're honoring it. And I think that's really sacred. But the way that it's the way we focus on it is very a caricature of the essence. And that's what happens with, it's like Christmas. I think that's the kind of commercialization of meaning, isn't it? Of what's really, really important.
Well said. And there you go. That's what it's all about. Love, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quick peck on the cheek from Marley there. So the big question is,
that's what the meaning of life is. He's very wise.
Oh, check him out. So
the meaning of cold.
So we could complain about how commercial these things are, or we just go about bringing them, reinstalling and reinstating them. And that's one of the great things about being in Portugal, I think, in as much as we do have All Saints, and people do look. It's on the screen now from the Portuguese American Journal, just to bring you up to speed on what is happening. All Saints Day, Dia de Todos os Santos, is celebrated in Portugal on November the 1st with a national holiday to honour the dead. So a long weekend here. And I did make the point, are people sort of literally celebrating, or are they just glad of a day off, which is what a lot of public holidays come to. And Portuguese people will be able to comment on that. I hope they will tonight. The origin of All Saints Day cannot be traced with certainty, but it has been observed. And thank you to Portuguese American Journal for this. It has been observed on various days in different places around the world. It is a national holiday in mainly historically Catholic countries, in the Roman Catholic Church and many Anglican churches. In Portugal, All Saints Day is a day for families to remember their dead with religious celebrations and visits to the cemetery. So that will be definitely, Mia was telling us that will certainly be going on in Portugal on Monday. And yes, it's good, terrible weather for such a visit as well. In some areas of the country as well, there is this other tradition. The children will keep the pau por Deus, bread for God's sake tradition by going door to door asking for a treat. So there's another connection there, going from door to door. And there's some brilliant rhymes where the kids kind of give a review of how generous the householder is, saying things like, "Oh, this is a house that smells of wine. Must be nice people here. This is a house that smells of garlic. Not sure about this lot," kind of thing. You could look those up for yourself. The 1st of November is also remembered in Portugal as the day Lisbon was struck by the great earthquake of 1755. Yikes! Which left the city in ruins after Lisbon was set ablaze and tsunamis rushed upon the shore into the city. Good heavens! The earthquake struck mid-morning when many families attended the high religious holiday inside the city churches, where many thousands were killed. Estimates at the time spoke of many tens of thousands killed, but by today's approximation, only 10,000 to 15,000 only Goodness, that's still a big number, isn't it? In 1755, the population of Lisbon was about 200,000. The quake is thought to have had a magnitude well above 8.5 on the Richter scale and an epicenter some 200 kilometers off the southwestern corner of Portugal. So all sorts of things coming together for the 1st of November. So certainly All Saints' Day in Portugal. And I think we'll learn a little bit more about All Souls' Days. Do you look like you might want to add something to that, Pretty?
What, All Souls' Day?
No. Sorry, just generally, just the things that are coming together. I like what you said about how superficial these things have become.
I really like. I mean, on a commercial, it's a commercial vein because it's a movie that we watched together, me and Marley. But lots of people must have seen Coco, and that's the whole. That's like the celebrating the Day of the Dead in Mexico, which is the equivalent, I think, in a way of All Hallows Eve and All Saints' Day. And I love that. I think the way that that's honoured, and also I think in a lot of countries, Indonesian countries, India, for instance, where you have pictures and garlands over ancestors like grandparents and great-grandparents, and it's part of just the weekly kind of, if you're going to pray on a Sunday, you'd always pray to the gods and also do a little kind of light a candle to your ancestors that are no longer with us. I think that's really important. Maybe
I agree.
Maybe that's a part of it that we don't really focus on that, do we really? I mean, that's not what are we celebrating with Halloween? What's the key?
Well said.
Why is it?
Yeah, and when we leave it to the marketing men, this is what happens, isn't it? And I was thinking, what is it about events for the human being? Why do we celebrate things at all? What are festivities about? And I was thinking, what drives humans often is a context and an invitation. So all events are about context and invitation, aren't they? You need an invite to go, or and in the modern parlance, that would be an advert. You respond to the marketing. That's your invitation to go, isn't it? And then the context is set. So if you're going to a gig, it's going to be music and you're going to be entertained in that way. And this is the modern day celebration, festivity, isn't it? And so going back, people would have had holidays, high days and holidays, I think they're referred to, aren't they? Where it would have been and this is another thing humans need, is a break from the norm, isn't it? To entertain their minds and to help them do things like be grateful or remember the ancestors, or do things that really give humans a great sense of meaning and depth, rather than just going along on a mundane and mediocre level. And these are the things, aren't they, that we can bring back just by, like you were saying, lighting candles, for example, being more mindful, stopping. And then you compare and you contrast that with knocking on people's doors and asking for sweets. And you think, well, okay, there is a bit of a difference here in what's being asked for and what the context and what the invitation is. What is the context and what is the invitation when you're knocking on people's doors and asking for sweets, I wonder?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like this reminds me, it's a bit of a silly story, a funny story, but it was Christmas, and we were growing up in London and doing the carol singing. So we were knocking on doors like you do, Christmas time, and singing carols in the hope and then you'd get a few pennies, wouldn't you, if you were like carol singing with some friends. But anyway, where we lived, it was like ghettoized, but it was like Little India. So all the doors we knocked on, they were Indian families, and they didn't understand what we were doing, like the Kotra side. So I just remember, knocking on the door, singing, whatever traditional carol that, we were singing. And I won't try now because I'm really not going to, everybody would switch off. But anyway, we'd sing, and then people would open the door, and this lovely Indian family, and then they called all their, there's a man opened the door, then he called his children, then he called his grandmother and his mother and everybody, and there was like a big crowd just listening to us. And then we finished, and we were like waiting for the money. He went, "Oh, that's very good, thank you." And he shut the door. And it was such a kind of, it wasn't rudeness, he just didn't know that,
That's
that's
context.
what we were doing with carols.
All about context,
but it's
right?
Cultural, so it's context, and I think here, I don't know if trick or treating is really a thing, is it, or has it taken on? Maybe in the cities. I don't know if in the villages, if it would, if the children were to go knocking on doors, trick or treating, how well that would go down. Really, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I suppose I think that's fair. And, if you can't, this is the phrase of the times, and if you can't add value to it, it's not of much interest to a supermarket or the commercial machine, the marketing machine. What interest would there be in celebrating the ancestors? Trick-or-treating is a much more attractive commercial, isn't it? So, I think we need to do it for ourselves, don't we? We need to not be determined or dominated by marketing people who exploit our need for convenience and not making an effort ourselves, and do these things. I mean, a couple of years ago with our kids, it was this is beautiful from Nubianet. Marketing and commercialization is soul zapping, but I think the feeling is still there. And I think that's right. I think there is some homeopathic remnant that people can relate to in it. The celebration during a time when it's becoming darker, yes, and a way of conquering darkness and fear for kids. So we thought, okay, so what can we do about this? And we got the kids to walk around the house. We were doing a house sit in central Portugal, not as deep in the outback as you are, but in a fairly sort of rural location. So there wasn't much in the way of street lighting. And we got the children to walk around the house together, probably at about, what would they have been, 7 and 3, something like that, hand in hand, like Hansel and Gretel. And we knew it was perfectly safe, but we set them the challenge of walking hand in hand with little torches or candles or something, probably torches, around the building and then coming back to where they started, as a kind of rite of passage of like, that they needn't fear that, well, they need to be respectful of the dark, and that there is another world outside the house, as well as there's the cozy inside of the house. There is a world outside the house, and it was a lovely ritual to do. And then they came in, and we were at a fire and got warm around the fire and ate. Probably, I imagine most rituals fortunately involve food, don't they, to keep people interested. But it was really lovely. It was kind of in-house, even though it was around and outside the house. But we did take on board this thing about children and the dark, because the kids' experience is quite homogenized, isn't it? They don't deal with extremes or seasons or nature necessarily.
They do here.
Well, absolutely, and that's yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. And so okay. Well, on that basis, then is that what drew you to being here and living here as an expat in Portugal?
No, like I just go with the flow, but it was a kind of accidental landing here, really, about 6-7 years ago.
Excellent.
We just came to pick up a camper van that had been waiting. We'd been looking for many years in France and Spain and Portugal, and nothing had really come up. And then we were just on we were at a curry night of friends, and it was Friday, we were leaving Monday. Picked up the camper van, and they just said, we think the land next to us is for sale. So on Saturday, and the next day we went to see it, and then I said, well, why don't we camp there in the camper van and see what we think on Sunday? And woke up on the land and said, yeah, okay, this feels good. And by Monday we'd bought it. So it was a really accidental find, and I think it was meant to be, but it's been a journey.
You've got to love a story like that. Amazing. That sounds wonderful. If you've got any questions for Pretty, please put them in the comments. MBA saying All Saints Day is important to our religion and belief, and even those who are not Catholic, they respect the day to be with their loved ones. That's lovely to hear. So I think MBA talking, well, yeah, you can tell, can't you? Portuguese person there from the profile pic on YouTube, to visit those who have left and enjoy the presence of those who are still around us. Saudações de Portugal. That sounds like a bit of a blessing, and we'll take that. We'll share that with you, MBA. Thank you. It's also a way of connecting and building trust among your neighbours. Okay, that's good. So, yes, even though we are being a little bit, we're knocking Halloween and its commercial excesses, perhaps, that is a good point there, Nubianet, a way of building trust with the neighbours. So you have to take your mask off as well, so they do know the skeleton from number 7. On the ground, it's still very wholesome for children and creative and fun for adults. Yeah, totally get that. Douglas Hughes, good evening from Coteira. Dougie, are you here in Portugal? Quite incredible. And there's a few we missed out. And P. Julien, one of our best friends, is Hindu. Their holidays are always so beautiful. Blessed Diwali, Pretty. There you go. Yeah. A greeting for you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's lovely. Yeah. It's very sacred. If we don't celebrate, I really feel like something's missing. And sometimes it's silly because I'm making a feast and there's not the big family here. So that there's a feeling of you miss that.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's not the same on Zoom, is it? Boa noite a todos from Mandy as well. That's a great picture you got there, Mandy. Tell us more about that. Mrs. M coming through from the other side. The other side of the desk, Don, for goodness sake. And Square Eyes saying the same thing. She'll break on through from the other side. And I missed the earlier greeting from Anne P. Julian as well. Carl, other Carl, our friend Carl, and hubby, partner Carl. Happy birthday, belated birthday wishes to Carl. Did he have a good day yesterday?
He did, yeah. We had a relaxing day.
Lots of love to Carl.
He's postponed it because of the rain.
Yes.
Marley's just saying he forgot to say the party's not happening. So some people turned up because it was going to be so wet and the track gets really tricky. So we postponed it to next Friday.
Your
so
track,
I think
your track sounds like a natural wonder of the world. It sounds like a biblical test to get down the track.
Get down the track, yeah.
It's
like when it rains, the track gets like, it's like there's been an earthquake and you've got these crater lines and you've got to, if you drive a car down it, you've got to navigate the wheels so that the cracks that are like an earthquake are in the middle.
Good heavens.
So actually, get a little bit.
Yeah, so for those people who are trying to figure out where to live in Portugal, if you are thinking about the rural central Portugal life, that might help influence your decision there.
Yeah.
Meta, same old Zuck, more damage under another name. Not a fan then, Marty. Don saying Samhain Gaelic Festival pronounced Samhain. Have I got that right? Samhain. Sound. Can we have a phonetic on that, please, Don? Great to have you here. Square Eyes says, "Watch out for the metaverse. The rest of the world is ahead of Facebook." Okay, so it's Zuckerberg and pals playing catch up with something that's already out there. And if I heard rightly, as I was listening to a radio show this afternoon, these virtual worlds exist, do they not? Where you can already have a kind of avatar and meet up with people online in quite a convincing way, if not in very human way. Are you familiar with this trend, Pretty?
What's that you can meet up with an avatar on what? I
think what the metaverse. We just sound like old people here, don't we?
Yeah.
We don't really know what's going on. But so if somebody can explain what the metaverse is, but I think I was part of a company that had a kind of what I described as Minecraft for grown-ups. And you would go into a virtual world and you could talk to people, and it looked like The Sims, like back in the day. But you were one of the Sims, and you would walk around. You could stand next to someone and chat with them, and you could go into presentations and stuff. And it was quite impressive. But I was thinking, give me a day down the cafe with a coffee and a pastel de nata any day. It's so much better than this electronic caper. But I mean, are you familiar with it?
I haven't really read much about. Yeah, I haven't read much about it. Metaverse, is it to do with, I don't know, all this quantum computers and, and transhumanism, and then the metaverse is like another technological advancement, but is it? I kind of think, is it?
Exactly. Well said.
Trap that you get caught up in,
Well said. Yep, hoping we might get a coffee. No, me neither. And then hopefully we'll get educated tonight, Pretty. Or maybe hopefully not. Yep. Hoping see, Doug doesn't want to meet up in the metaverse. He wants to meet up in the real universe, and the cross in time and space that is Portugal. So yeah, come to the Silver Coast, Doug, and we'll do that. Love to meet you. I'm a bit preoccupied until Monday, Tuesday. Free after that. I'm free, says Mr. Hughes there. Okay, I think what I'm going to do, we have a beautiful video to play of what would it be? A cemetery? Would it be described as a cemetery or graveyard in Lisbon? And this was made by our dear friend Thunderduck. So I'm going to do a few tweaks in the studio so we can get Mrs. M on, who's really rearing to go here. But I got to switch the corporate livery to Expats Portugal. That's not a big change, is it? Actually, that's nicer, I would say. And then we'll play this movie, and we'll see you on the other side of this. But you may well enjoy this as well, Pretty. I hope we're not keeping you from anything. It's lovely hanging out with you and finding out more about Diwali. But this is a Cemiterio do Alto de São João in Lisbon. That's beautiful, isn't it?
Well. I can hear you and see you. How are you?
That should be better now.
Yeah, that is. I can hear you. Can I just check? Can other people that are watching the show, can you hear Carl right now? Carl, say something. No, say it really.
Okay. Mary had a little lamb. Her fleece was white as snow. I cannot say the next bit because it's really very rude.
Hello, everybody. Wasn't that film really great?
Thunder,
that was
you legend.
amazing. So how did you come about making that, Thunder Duck? Did you kind of walk in with a camera? It looks like you've walked in with lighting and all sorts. I'm guessing not. I mean, what's it like to walk into something like that? That's kind of crazy.
All done on the iPhone, I believe.
Seriously,
oh yes,
that's amazing, and
yeah.
the music is really astounding. It's really kind of evocative. So Deagle is saying that we can. Oh, that's a different person. A few people have said that we can hear Carl, so that's great. You can hear both of you. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Why did you look so great on this? And that I again look like I'm in a hostage video. They're treating me really well. I don't know how you do it. Natural beauty, obviously. Please send the money. Please send the money.
So I'm wondering what kind of, aside from what we've been talking about so far, which from what I can gather from like listening into little bits and pieces whilst like feeding our youngest, what I gather is that you've been talking about the different festivals around this time. And Pretty's back, actually.
Oh, good.
Hey, Pretty. And so, what I'm curious about is do any of you have any kind of like private things? Like not like something that you can't reveal, but like little family traditions. Like how do you celebrate it? How do you make sense of the things that are going on right now?
I did talk about the thing we did with the kids, and we sent them out in the dark, which. I think some people might have thought it was a bit harsh.
We were, aware of where they were. It was.
Hastens to her.
It was a bit of a creepy house, though, wasn't it?
Well, the reason I thought it was a great idea, and I think it was probably kind of mum-dad dynamics going on, wasn't it? You were thinking probably, I can't send my poor little babies outside, but it was dark. It wasn't raining and windy or anything. It wasn't like a night like tonight, but it was out of their comfort zone, literally outside their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like a really useful thing to do because kids don't get to do that so much anymore, do they? And they came back like bright-eyed, didn't they? And bushy-tailed, like wide-eyed that they'd done it. We explained what to do, and they did their own safe little adventure, which is a bit like, how when people do a vision quest or really push themselves beyond their normal confines and boundaries and settings, and so it was great. I thought it was great. And I think they did as well. I think it's something they may well remember.
I hope so. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? I think it's so easy to forget what might be going on around these times because it's really intensely marketed. And so I think it's really great that we get the chance to make sense of it somehow. Pretty just sent us a message.
How very dare you treat it like that?
Pretty, I've tried adding you in and hearing you, and I can't. So it might be that our technology's failed today, or it might just be like a sign from the other side that it's time to say goodbye. But thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate that. Lots of love to you, Carl and Marley, and hopefully maybe we'll catch you one Diwali. I'd love that. That would be really awesome. And I've lost Carl now as well.
I'm coming back, don't worry. Carry on.
So we've got a few different comments. A bit of a rite of passage for the kids. Excellent. That's what it was actually, Cindy B. I think it's good to challenge kids. Like, where are their rites of passage these days? Do you want to talk about rites of passage, Carl? Because it's one of your favourite subjects, isn't it?
Well, I think it was. Yes, I was really inspired at the time. About the whole idea of how so many things. Well, I was banging on quite a lot about how rites of passage for men were missing.
Yeah,
I thought there was a time. Yeah, I think you can add me back in now if you want.
Let's get you back.
Add me back in now if you want. There you go. And I've muted that particular mic, so that should all be well and good.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, Kent is saying, hold up today's newspaper, Carl. We need proof of life before we pay the ransom.
Yeah, it's exactly what it looks like, isn't it? Yeah. We're working on it. It's just nice that we're in the same room at all.
Yeah,
and she is treating me quite nicely.
Yeah, I am. I did bring him a cup of tea at the start.
It gets worse from here.
And this might like tie into what you're talking about rites of passage. You know, Square Eyes is asking about a vision quest as well. Do you want to kind of?
I'm no expert. I'm no expert on these, but to answer that and your other question, there was I was thinking to myself at the time, what, two or 3 years ago, what is it that because people are talking about a crisis of masculinity and there's no how do men distinguish themselves now? And I remember when I was a kid, what you might get an 18th birthday party, you might get a 21st birthday party, and you might get a like plastic silver key, which was some remnant of how this is the key to the world, and you're an adult now. But part of it, and part of why I think men are in such this is a bit of a digression, but why why men are in such a crisis in many ways is because nobody, and women as well probably, men don't need to grow up. There isn't a point at which you're told, okay, you've had your fun, you've been a kid, now you need to grow up. And this can go on, can't it? Into you can be in your 20s, 30s, 40s. I don't remember growing up, and some would argue I still haven't. Didn't
one of your girlfriend's mothers say you were like Pouillere boy, like
the been called that
Peter
as well.
Pan guy that never grows up?
That's right. And I had to take it on the chin because there is no culturally there is no imperative.
Yeah.
And personally, it's kind of optional. So I thought, well, why is that? And what would there be to help men grow up? And like being hung from your nipples by hooks in the forest is a bit savage. But other rituals are available to help people. And part of it we were talking about at the time was about healing childhood as well, because I think childhood is actually, whether or not it was a cruel childhood you had, children make sense of their childhoods in a certain way, don't they? And it's quite good, I think, to be disabused of the meanings you make in early life, because you're a child and you make quite childish meanings and sense of the world to survive your childhood. And it's really nice to be given the opportunity at some point to say, the way I dealt with that situation, like my first day at school or feeling abandoned by my parents, was this. I can stop doing it now. But a lot of people just keep doing that stuff, don't they, for the rest of their lives without a ritual to say, okay, that's how you made sense of your childhood. You can stop being a kid now. You can be an adult now. And a vision quest might be one way of doing that. But as I understand it, a vision quest is where you just stay up and outside. Basically, the idea is you stay up and outside all night. And
sometimes you might be doing it in a what are they called? A sweat lodge or with certain botanicals to bring about.
You may well.
I've never done one.
Is that phone playing the show? There's something in this room playing the show. Can that phone be turned off? Or if you pass it to me, I'll do it.
It's not playing the show, I don't think.
Okay. Something is around here. It's like a spooky Halloween thing. Possibly. Yeah. Maybe it's this one.
So we've got a few more messages. So Abel is joining us from Perth saying, hope you're all well. We're great. I hope you are too. Marty's sharing, the only tradition we had as a family was carving pumpkins. It was something my mum enjoyed. Now she's too old to participate or even remember it. Makes me very sad. I really feel for you there. And it is a really gnarly old job to do, isn't it? I remember carving pumpkins with the kids last year and really hurt my hands. It's not an easy thing to do.
So we're doing it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me that?
Well, you can do it tomorrow with the kids.
Okay, thank you. What was a rite of passage?
Marty, what I would ask is there something else that you can do with your mum? Often we have these traditions, don't we? And the traditions over time will change because of our own skills and our abilities and stuff. But I'm wondering, what did you get out of sharing that experience with her? Was it about bonding? Was it about just spending time? Was it about summing things up? I'm wondering how you can kind of
honor her. Right?
honor her.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about, isn't it? Is in the absence or in the criticism of the commercialized event, what can we do to reclaim it?
Yeah.
Or even not reclaim it, but even do it for the first time. Reclaim it culturally, if not, and if not as something you did and you don't do anymore, but do it for the first time because it's a really meaningful and beautiful thing. I think you're better at this than I am, of doing rituals and honorings of things, and I've just begun to understand and enjoy and appreciate and respect that more and more, because I just couldn't, I just thought, what's the point of that in earlier life? Let's live in the now. Why are we doing rituals and this, that, and the other? Why aren't we just or doing new things? Why are we living in the past? And there are really, as you get older, I guess you realize there are very good reasons for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sharon is joining us, saying nice to be watching from Mafra before heading back to the USA. So
how's it going, Sharon?
Yeah. Are you looking forward to going back home? What have you picked up from being here?
And where have you been?
Yeah, let us know.
So let us know your greatest rites of passage.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. I mean, the one anecdote that comes to mind is there's a guy called Mac McCartney, I think he's called.
Yeah.
And he created this amazing place called Embercombe in Devon in the southwest of England. And he did a lot of training with Native American folk and he went through, I don't know if he was hung from his nipples by hooks in the forest.
Where did you get that from?
No, it's an actual thing. It's an actual thing. It's one of the more serious rites of passage. In a culture where life is quite wild and savage, the rites of passage need to be so, don't they? And people need to grow up fast and sharp for their own protection. We're very privileged and lucky, aren't we? Our rites of passage, I'm sure, will be very Instagram and not necessarily, Outstagram, out in the wilds of nature. But what Mac told me, he told me a story about how he was left. They took him out into the forest, or up on a mountain or something. And this is what I think is a kind of vision quest thing. And, to seek meaning and to understand life. And so, they took him out for the first night and he's like, here I am. I'm with my Native American friends and I'm doing this great ritual. I'm cool. Thanks very much. I say, okay, we'll come back tomorrow. So next day he's getting a bit tired and delirious out there and he's hearing noises and he's starting to get a bit more scared because he's sleep deprived. And they say to him, Mac, what is life about? And he's like, well, is it about truth and meaning? And they say, no, it's not about that. It's about love for my brother. No, it's not about that. And so they say, okay, we'll come back tomorrow night. And they're leaving him out here without food or water to sit on the spot and observe the stars and the passing of the day and night. And he's out there for days eventually. And he's like, they come over and kick him. And he's like, and it's, Mac, what is life about? And he's going, water. They go, you got it, man. It's like right back to the basics. Was his thing, of all his pretensions and what he thought life was about and spirituality and everything. It was right down to learning about, if without the absolute basics in life, we are pretty done for. And he was reminded about that through his ritual and what I think in that instance might have been called a vision quest. That is a great rite of passage, isn't it? That's pretty extreme. And he's quite an extraordinary fellow. I can't claim to have done anything like that. I mean, I have done a sweat lodge. I haven't done any of the botanicals you talk about, but people do, and I think that's an interesting thing as well, isn't it? Whilst I was saying, wouldn't it be good to resurrect and sort of re-inherit some things? There is this thing, isn't there, of cultural appropriation, and how important it is to do it right. Because actually, one thing when I was talking to Mac, the Native American people he was working with said, this is our culture, not yours. You've got what you need from us. You need to go back to England now and discover what is the indigenous and appropriate and right teaching or tradition for the part of the world you live in. So there is an expat responsibility, I think, in a way, isn't it? You come to a new country and it's right that we know about all saints, all souls. We know the right level of doing Halloween, if you like, and we learn and integrate and contribute through the understanding of local traditions. So I'm really interested to hear if anybody is doing that.
Yeah, wonderful. Marty's come back to us and said, thanks for the ideas. I will try and honour her, but she won't remember it, and it just seems so cruel. Yeah, it really must. At least in the moment, she might find some comfort.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is, I mean, that's the if I understand rightly, and maybe I didn't hear the earlier part, Marty, but what is she not remembering? Is it difficult for her to remember the past, and is she confused perhaps? I don't know what is perhaps some of the cruelest experiences we can have, isn't it, with loved ones, that's where they get to, and what can be done. So others may be able to help with that here, you know, in how they are, how they can be with their relatives who might be aging. I mean, I was thinking about knowing and missing relatives. My dad will have passed on 10 years ago.
Yeah.
On the 3rd. I mean, he went. If we're talking about the time of year where the veils are thin, he slipped through on it must have been the 3rd of November.
Yeah.
10 years ago. Come this 3rd of November, and I was thinking about, you know, missing him, because I think one of our great friends from this community, Gary, was talking about missing his dad, and my stepfather died as well last year, and I was thinking about this year, sorry, in this previous year, and what is it we miss about people? And I was thinking, you know, I don't miss them sort of wholesale. And I was thinking a lot of the things I miss about my dad and that would be missed about my stepfather are not towards the end of their life. They were bits earlier on in their life. And there was something in it for me about how, you know, how we change, how as knowing a person, they're not a fixed item, are they? They are, you know, I didn't know my dad as a child, which is, you know, he told me he was one. You know, I met him when I was born and then knew that arc, and he had a whole life before me. And we tend to think of people, don't we, as a fixed thing, rather than a sense of how they have had their own arc from childhood to old age, and, you know, from their vibrant birth to their ultimate demise, and, you know, how all of us will perish in some way, or have maybe a downhill kind of trajectory near the end. So it just seems really important to be able in some way to honor not just where they are and who they are now, but all that they've been. And I honestly don't know how you do that, apart from maybe making a beginning in doing that by sitting down, sitting still, and letting it come to you, letting the memories and the senses and the vibrations or energies of that person, however you see it and however you see the world, come to you. But we can't do that, can we, when we're full pace living? If we don't take a break, if we don't have a ritual for it. And that's why I've come to understand rituals much better in recent times, because they are the context and the space and the invitation to allow that to happen. And if we don't allow it to happen, it probably won't happen.
We've got another message from Marty, just confirming
Sorry,
that
I'm picking my camera all over the place.
She's got advanced Parkinson's disease and dementia. As I said, it just seems terribly cruel.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I nothing to add to that, Marty. Yes, you know, that's a horrible situation, mate. And you know, all we can do in those sort of situations is send love, isn't it? So yeah, love to you. I just said thank you for your company. Thank you for joining us. We started doing this on a Saturday night, 10 o'clock. And we're here. I mean, that's the context. Let's talk about context and invitation here, Mrs. M.
Yeah.
What are we about on a Saturday night?
We're about community. We're about not taking ourselves too seriously.
Make your own hostage video.
I love that we're here to support each other. Like, yes, Marty, I'm with you, man. It's, you know, that's what Square Eyes is sharing.
Yes.
Don Murphy saying, my grandfather was a fan, GAA fan, going blind and a bit deaf, but I had taped all of the islands from 1990 where his home county won the double. The volume was full on and we would see him smile. So
beautiful.
We're about sharing. I think that's what this is. Marty's just saying, you are so good, Carl. What you just said simply nails it for me.
Bless you, man.
Thank you very much. That's from Jim and Mandy. We've got some more comments. We've got a bit of confirmation about the old nipple action. Midlife Crisis World Tour is saying Richard Harris in A Man Called Horse, big nipple hanging action.
Please don't go watch that now on YouTube. Save it for later.
And James is also saying A Man Called Horse, Richard Harris. We've got a few traditions coming in as well.
Oh,
so
excellent.
Digor is saying, Carl and Louisa, we also make apple cake and put a coin in it. Remember a ring put in and girls would take a slice, and if you got the ring you were next to get engaged or married. I remember
to the fella on your left.
I remember at my sister's wedding almost knocking some girls out just so I could catch a bouquet.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't. No, I don't think there is, but I definitely wasn't the next one to get married. But
oh, bless you.
Don Murphy saying,
weren't you with your boyfriend at the time?
Yeah, I was.
Oh,
yeah.
Did he not get the hint?
No.
Seeing you rugby tackle some teenage girls out of the way. That's mine.
But I mean, it's good, isn't it? It worked out just fine.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Don Murphy saying we used to have curly kale mashed with potatoes. I love that kind of thing. The ring in the brack, I don't know what that is. Bobbing for apples. Yeah, we were thinking about bobbing for apples. It's probably not something that's advised at the moment.
What do you mean, health and safety wise?
Well, we've got some people coming over tomorrow because it's our eldest son's birthday coming up. What Carl didn't share is that when our son arrived, it was like one in, one out. Our son arrived, said like the male line on Carl's family changed irrevocably, where we got one in and one out within the same 24 hours.
It's an intense day.
Yeah, really intense day. So, it was my first child born, and I didn't really get to see you, did I? You were with me for a little bit and then you had to go. And it was just a crazy, crazy day. It's like the veils are really thin, aren't they? At that time, it's just like a crazy time.
Well, if that's true, I mean that my dad's passing would certainly bear that out.
Yeah, I mean we managed to send him a message to let him know that his first grandson had been born.
Yeah.
Or his only grandson.
Yes.
Wow, what a day that was. Peter Beach is saying you don't need to end up in a James Arthur Ray situation. What's James Arthur Ray situation?
I don't know. What does it
mean?
I
don't know. Let us know what you mean by that, Peter. Sometimes just appreciating the nature around can be an epiphany. Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely would agree with you 100%.
No question about that. No. But Pete, I that's where I was with the whole idea of ritual a few years ago. It's like, okay, you've got nature. What else do you want?
Yeah.
But there just seems to be something useful about making an extra effort and a different context, a different setting. I mean, take for example the marriage thing. It's not like it's an ordinary day, is it? And you just turn to the person and say, "Do you want to get married?" And they say, "Yeah, okay, well, we're then married." There's a massive ritual involved, isn't there? And those things are very important to us human beings because it creates meaning and power for whatever the ritual is dedicated to. And so, every day you can say, I respect, and people do, don't they? We can have very mechanical, and that tends to be, I think, what happens for human beings. A bit like the Lord's Prayer. I mean, remember, what's it called? Deconstructing the Lord's Prayer with Jacqueline on the live streams we've done on a Sunday night. So at school it's like and everyone's doing that for years, aren't they? Not knowing what the words mean, not saying them with any seriousness or feeling. So there's something about the human mind and how it deadens things and how it needs to be kind of penetrated or shaken up or surprised with a ritual, so that it can understand the gravity of certain sorts of situations. And so in the marriage situation, it is really important, isn't it, that, you know, people get dressed up and come together to a particular place at a certain time, and there's a holy person of some sort, or, you know, an auspicious person in an auspicious place, and they say things that are meaningful, and it's witnessed by other people. And so transferring that, I don't know who James Arthur Ray is, and I can, A Man Called Horse, and then the Richard Harris movie there, which I'm sure was, you know, sort of turned up a bit for Hollywood reasons. But you know, if you've got an ordained person there, if you've got your shaman or your holy man, and the clan come together on a certain day to witness something, and they're all hearing that this young boy is now becoming a man, that changes things, doesn't it? In a way that in our culture, it's just a drift. And like I said before, it's just optional. No one needs to grow up, because there's not this moment that you're working towards. And thereafter, you're like, okay, well, I've got a responsibility now. What was it they said on that day? And we forget, don't we? We forget marriage. You and I forget our marriage vows, don't we? You know, I often have to say, you're meant to love, honor, and obey me, etc. And
that was the bit that we both either cried at or coughed through. we both really struggled with obey. That was so funny.
Knew it would be trouble.
What really got me there with what you were saying there, Carl, was the idea of something being witnessed by the community.
Yes.
I think there's some power in that, isn't there? Because all of a sudden something becomes a bit more real. And like you say, it raises the stakes. You know, we have to try a bit harder. We have to show up and take responsibility.
Yes.
I love that.
Well, how about this then?
Go on.
An expat ritual. But I don't mean about becoming an expat. I mean about becoming. So, you know, we're talking expats Portugal here, aren't we? We're talking about being in Portugal. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if we could create some sort of ceremony whereby you felt more Portuguese, you felt accepted, you felt integrated? And Pete, you were using the phrase the other day, you know, the rights and responsibilities go together. So if you get a new right to call yourself a resident of Portugal, you might learn what your responsibilities are as well. And that might be you know, conducted in an ordained and auspicious environment where you think, okay, yeah, I want to be part of this community, and this community wants me to be part of it. And on that special day, something happens. And, you know, to an extent, that's been watered down into residency and citizenship, hasn't it? But me old, you know, a QR code just doesn't cut it in the same way as nipple hanging does. not that I'm suggesting that that's what the Portuguese should do to expats. No.
You know, you might have struck on something there. You know, there might be some that are like, yeah, let's get those expats.
That's right.
I might feel a bit like that.
Yeah. And if anyone is thinking of sending me a Christmas present, I don't want some nipple hooks. I don't keep mentioning it as a kind of plug or as a hint.
We don't want any plugs either, thank you.
No, thank you. That's no ritual I'm interested in.
We've got some more lovely comments. There's quite a little bit of love going on here. So Square Eyes is saying, Mandy, I think I recognise your avatar artwork. Mandy is saying, thank you so much for noticing. So that's something else that happens here, is that we notice each other, you know, and we're, you know, I think it's lovely.
Well, the invitation as well is to feel good. You know, the context is that we are in Portugal or want to be. That's a very straightforward sort of context, isn't it? And, you know, we use the shorthand expat. But the invitation, and the reason why, you know, it's called Feel Good Portugal for a reason, is because I would like it to be a rare oasis of the possibility of feeling good for a whole 2 hours. And that's why when we're talking about Halloween, I don't want it to be commercial Halloween supermarket bashing and marketing bashing. I mean, there's a lot of material there if you want it. It's like, what can we do though? What if we are feeling like that? But if we are feeling like there's something missing, what can we do? How can we feel good about this time of year? Hence, Feel Good Portugal. So that's the invitation, you know. If this doesn't make you feel good, you know, let us know how it can, or do something that does.
We're getting some suggestions in as well. Before we go there, though, Kent is sharing with us, my mother used to volunteer as an art therapist working with dementia patients. She said playing music from their youth really helped. And I can appreciate that. I once spent a lot of time with somebody who is passing away from cancer. I sort of visited him every day for the best part of 9 months, I think. And I think one of the senses that is the last to leave us is our hearing. And it's one of the first senses that we develop inside the womb, is like we hear the heartbeat. So the hearing is really, really important. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing
well
that.
said. And nothing moves, nothing.
Carl looks like a Klimt painting at the moment.
Nothing moves us like, or can move us so quickly as music. And I've noticed this recently when I hear music from my teenage years, and music that was a really profound discovery or made me feel part of something. I have the same feeling. And Capricorn 12 from our community, we were talking about music when we met up recently, and that was the heyday for me of discovering and enjoying music. And when I hear music from that time, I'm right there. So absolutely, Ken, I completely understand how that would work.
We've got a couple of suggestions as well. Cindy B saying, I am so on this. As a celebrant, I create rituals and celebrations. We so need an expat Portuguese ritual. Yes. Mandy saying, a blessing of the Pastéis de Nata.
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. I think, like the moment you make your first kind of cabbage soup and make it work so that a Portuguese person doesn't go, oh, what is that?
Yeah.
That's like one of those winning moments, isn't it? We've got a little bit of confirmation about the GAA.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
Irish
Gaelic Athletic Association. It's an Irish sport cultural organisation across all 32 counties, and some Irish communities around the globe have got clubs.
I tell you what, that is probably a rite of passage. I think that's Gaelic football, isn't it? And that is a man's game. And I think that would turn any young boy into a man playing that game.
Don saying, GAA, is it not Grabble Association?
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
And Don has also said the ring in the brack is next to get married. Thank you for that. Where should we go now? I've got a little bit
they've
more.
got that in a Christmas cake here in Portugal, haven't they? That the EU, I think, told them to stop putting money in, because if you got the money, you had to buy the cakes next year. But I think, and they had nail files and chainsaws and all sorts in there. But the EU, whoever got the chainsaw had to do the garden. But the EU stopped all of that.
Deagle saying, in fairness, the 4 clubs in North Belfast do massive work, not just with children, youth, but connecting across the community, especially with COVID and food banks. And, there is something about that, isn't there? Like when you're a member of a group.
Yes.
There is something very powerful in groups deciding to do some kind of community action or just showing up. I think it's deeply powerful.
And you feel blessed yourself, don't you? So you feel you enjoy the beauty of community. And if you're in a sport, I mean, this is not something I'm not really a team player, you might have noticed, but I do get how people in sports teams explore, find out about themselves and really learn about themselves and each other and being part of a team and being part of a community. And then when that works, when that gels, the next thing is to share that with other people, isn't it? And I can see how groups would do this in exactly this way, Deagle. Thank you. But Cindy B, I'm thinking about that, and a ritual of some kind. We got to talk, Cindy, haven't we? So and let's have a few ideas tonight then. The blessing of the Pastéis de Nata, the blessing of the helmets, of course, in Fatima. There's quite a few expats who might be drawn towards that one. As well. So what else could we do? Does it need to be on the Serra da Estrela? Does it need to be a dunking in the Tagus? It must involve wine, of course, mustn't it? And bacalhau, the anointment of the bacalhau. Go home smelling of salted cod. I don't know, but there's as a celebrant, I'm sure Cindy B can make it profound and meaningful and moving. And again, wouldn't it be great if it could be part of our Expats Portugal get-togethers, where there's it might be a fringe event. It may not be everybody's cup of tea, but for those who do it, I think it would be very moving and very powerful.
Confirmation here from Deagle. Music is a big memory switch in our heads. A song can bring you right back to a special time. It can be sad, but can also be happy. I would absolutely agree with that. And is also adding, I and my boys play hurling, part of a GAA game. It's the version with hurleys. Some say a rough version of hockey, but it's highly skilled.
Yeah.
Sounds really tough.
It does, doesn't it? It does.
And Square Eyes is, bacalhau.
Not many people say that, to be fair, do they? But not many. Let me rephrase that. The kissing of the cock,
yes,
I guess, is what
it's interesting.
Sydney being mischievous here.
Well, it's interesting because when I was living in Bali, did I mention I lived in Bali?
You might well have done. Yeah. I think. Does everyone know that? Can we just get that out of the way? Mrs. M lived in Bali. Everybody, she did a Julia Roberts thing.
Yeah, but before the film was released,
did you meet a Javier Bardem sort of character there?
I did date a Balinese guy for a short while.
Does
and when I came
count?
back to England a couple of months later, I met you.
But did he wander about in cheesecloth and talk in mainly a whisper, in a reassuring whisper? A little bit.
He was kind of like a sexy stranger. He was, he's a nice looking Balinese guy. But no, not really. What?
Not Javier.
No, not. And what Carl's referring to there is Eat, Love, Pray. Or Eat, Pray, Love, whatever it.
Pray,
like
love,
when
eat.
I was
Pray
living
before you eat in some of the cafes.
when I was living in Bali, because in the story, it's for those of you that have read the story or seen the film is about a woman who goes through a divorce, and it's how she heals herself. So she goes to Italy and she eats loads and develops this love of food. She goes to India and then she gets really into ritual and prayer, and
there we go,
and sort of that's a bit of a cleanse for her. And then she goes to Bali and she kind of balances it out with love, and she meets her sexy man, and that's the story. And she's basically someone in her late 40s or someone. And when I was living in Bali, the film came out right at the end of my stay, and within about a month or so, all of the restaurants were filled with older women, all sat on their own on a table in Bali. It's like loads of women came over to Bali on their own for their Eat, Love, Pray experience. In fact, some like restaurants put eat, leave, pay, or something like eat, pay, leave, and things like that outside. So there's a lot of emphasis on it. But and the reason I mentioned that, kissing the bacillus.
Well, there he is. You can do that. You've got the graphics for doing it on the screen now.
Yeah. Oh, hang on.
He's also, you could kiss his butt if you go the wrong way.
I think I'm going to kiss his butt now.
Oh dear.
Hang on.
Go on, you can do it. There we go. There we go. Whoops.
When if any of you have been to Indonesia, in particular Bali, I haven't really been to the rest of Indonesia, so I don't know about it. But in Bali, they love their cocks. They absolutely love their roosters, and they do cockfighting a lot. And it's not unusual to see a man holding his cock whilst riding on a moped through Bali. And so I was a bit mischievous, a bit like Cindy B, and I set up a Facebook group many years ago called I saw a man in Bali holding his cock ... And then people who were staying in Bali
became a group.
Yeah. And so people were saying, oh yeah, I saw a man stroking his, and it just went on.
I don't want to distance myself from this
so much fun. It was so much fun. So yes, that definitely could be. I like your suggestion, Cindy. Thank you. And I'm really happy for more of these.
It's a profound story. You might want to look it up and share it with everybody tonight, because it is a profound story. A man's life is saved because of the Barcelos rooster.
Okay.
None of you frivolous blooming.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry about that. If you, I'll look it up.
You've ruined the story. You've ruined the legend of the Barcelos rooster.
I'm so sorry.
Terrible innuendo.
You can't take a girl out of Kent, can you?
Indeed.
Okay. Portuguese is saying, hey, Munson's no butt kissing live. Fair enough.
Cancelled for that.
Why not eat, love, pray, live life? Yeah,
yes.
I think that's great.
Well, it's not a bad formula, is it?
No, it's great. I have it in tins and salted in the fridge tray to go. What is that?
Bacalhau,
Oh,
of course.
bacalhau,
Yeah,
of
what do you
course.
think? What could that be? So here's another question for tonight. What could Square Eyes be talking about? I have it in tins and salted in the fridge tray to go.
Yeah, it sounds like a Facebook group. ...
Yes. But you enjoy it. What are you doing in the privacy of your own kitchen's your business.
Exactly. Don is saying, I agree. We should get Carl to watch some girls playing Kamoji.
Okay.
Carl, it's like hockey. Anything goes with rules. You know, it might be a bit lost on Carl. He's not really sporty.
And
Neither is very sporty.
so there I am in Ireland watching girls playing a game, and you're like, who is this? Excuse me, sir. What are you doing here?
Watching
well,
these
my
young
friends
girls.
Don and Deagle said it was a good idea. Because they're setting me right up here, aren't they?
Yeah. Deagle saying a very big tradition in Ireland is the wake. Family friends gather. The wake. Sorry.
Yeah.
Family friends gather for 3 days when someone dies. Lots of healing happens as people grieve, listening to stories of the loved ones.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Yes. And again, has been challenged by modern life, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if you can't take a few days off to honour someone who's passed, and we do it so quickly now, don't we? It all kind of fits in with, you know, work schedules and it's industrialized like so many things in life now. And that sounds like real proper healing, doesn't it? Like you say, is it for 3 days solid? Is that how it works? Because you would think in many ways that would be not complete, but a very deep possibility and an opening to talk for people. And, you know, it would have a roller coaster ride, wouldn't it? There'd be sadness and there'd be happiness, and, you know, because it would mirror all the aspects of human life and that particular life. So yeah, and really important.
I really love what Deagle's written here. Grief is actually a lovely thing. You only grieve for someone you loved. You don't grieve for an unknown person. So the wake is a great thing. Yeah. Very, very powerful. I mean, we couldn't go to your stepdad's funeral.
No, I had to
earlier
watch
this
it on
year.
Zoom.
Yeah, that was a really unusual experience. But we spent the best part, like, while we knew he was slowly passing away, and a good week before he'd passed, we spent many hours talking about our experience of him and
well, actually,
kind of summing it
I
up.
did suggest to my mum and my daughters and my sister and my niece and nephew that we meet on Zoom, not really knowing what would happen, but we thought, okay, what would he want? And he would want us to be drinking some wine for sure and having something to eat. So we had a Zoom lunch, which gave us a chance to talk about him, albeit it was open-ended but it wasn't 3 days, that's for sure. But I'm so glad I mentioned it, because it was that thing you mentioned there, Deagle, is so important. And I was really glad that our family did it, to have at least an opportunity to get some resolution and to talk and to share and to sort of reminisce. It's really, really important stuff.
Actually, the way you started, you dealt with your dad's funeral, the sort of celebration of his life, I thought was really good.
Yeah, well, it was it was a bit unusual, I think, wasn't it, to have it was like a workshop almost, wasn't it? People were invited, and they were invited to participate, because at the time I was thinking, a bit of a beef with the industrial, this word again, in all the process, the industrialized process. These processes, these rituals are often in the hands of professionals now, aren't they? And that's not their fault, really. That's our fault as well. We choose it that way. We leave it that way. But I thought, what my dad would have hated would be a stranger pretending to be nice about him. That would have really upset my dad, because and that's why I felt a responsibility to host it, and even share that sentiment that my dad. I think something he said to me is like, he said something like, "When I'm dead, tell them I was a bastard." And I was like, no, when I'm dead, say my father was a bastard. And why do you say that? Because he told me so. And that's what he was like. And he would have hated a kind of industrialized, generic well-meaning. You know, I understand what the position holy men and celebrants are in when they have to just take 24 hours to get some notes off the family and cobble something together. And my dad would have really struggled with that. So we did it ourselves, and I invited everyone to speak to a celebratory event. The old timeline thing didn't work out so well, did it? We had a big piece of paper down some tables in the middle of the room. We sat in a big circle, and people were able to write things down and add photographs and things. That was okay, but the chance to talk, the chance to take our time, and then we went for a walk, didn't we, around where he lived as a child. It was lovely.
We've got some good suggestions about expat rituals or initiations.
Okay, so the expat coming to Portugal, what we might do as a way of really, really making something of it, yeah?
Yeah, I think you'll like this.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Paula Ray, whoever finds the father bean gets a SEF appointment.
Yes, we'll take that. Okay.
And then midlife crisis world tour or an IMT appointment.
Oh, come on, you cynics. You cynics. We've had a few appointments, haven't we, where that could be included in these. Could you go back a minute to
hang on,
Eusebio?
Actually,
go on.
I just want to really share this one. It's really beautiful. Mandy said, a ritual in some cultures is to surround a wayward member and for several days speak of their good points, how appreciated they are and how loved they are. And I think that is the power of being in a really good community, because you notice when someone's playing up or when someone isn't. And that's the thing none of us really have when we come out as expats. We don't automatically necessarily have a community to go into. In fact, very few of us does. Yeah, but I mean, often we don't have that anywhere in our own countries. You know, I've lived all over the UK, and when I did briefly move back to my parents when said ex-boyfriend didn't marry me.
Oh.
And I moved back to my hometown in Kent in my mid-30s. Yeah, I didn't really feel that sense of community around me necessarily. We don't often have that. I'm kind of curious how we can create that.
Well, what's the alternative to this? This is interesting, Mandy. And is that an avatar in a metaverse that was being referred to there? But I digress. You see, if you don't have a tight community like you're talking about, Mrs. M, and we don't take the time to be grateful and acknowledge people and what's good about them, this could be a formula for isolation and depression, couldn't it? If you're not, it seems to be the opposite of what's being talked about here. And we've all been through those times of self-doubt, haven't we?
Definitely.
And difficulty.
Yeah.
And to be enveloped in this way would be such a powerful and wonderful thing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking ahead now. Because I know Thanksgiving's coming up, isn't it? It's on Thursday, November the 25th.
Okay. Well, so what American expats, what are you doing here in Portugal to honour that? And how and why is it important to you? Because again, from the outside eye, it could look like quite a commercial thing. Peter Bleach is selling turkeys, for example. Pete, are you ready for Thanksgiving? It could look quite commercial, couldn't it? But what's the original significance? This is the reminder we need, isn't it? What's the origin and what's truly special about this thing, as well as eating loads of turkey? Yeah.
Portuguese is just saying it's a cake, not a miracle. I think that might be in reference to the IMT appointment. Square Eyes, beer, wine, and bolinhos de bacalhau at my wake, and trance and uplifting house music. Yeah, it's really funny actually. Carl was listening to a track earlier and saying, "Oh yeah, when I go out, like." when I go and have my body burnt up, this is the track that I want it, and it's like a really big banging tune. Can't remember what it is, so you have to write it down or else I'll forget it.
It's effectively a mashup of the theme from Shaft with the incredible bongo band.
Oh yes. Yeah,
it rocks.
Yeah.
But that sounds great. I don't know what we have to do. I mean, I was going to say, how do we get an invite? But I don't want. That sounds really bad saying that.
Yeah.
Let's do it anyway. Was that NBA who put that up?
Square Eyes.
Square Eyes. Why don't we do that anyway, but without the dying bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so we just have a beer, wine, and
bolinhos de bacalhau, and have some trance and uplifting house music as an evening out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe another one of the fringe events at the next Expats Portugal gathering.
Yeah. Portuguese is sharing. My father's cremation was 3 weeks after his passing, the first slot available, so to speak.
Yeah, there's the industrialization.
Well, he's actually said the crematorium was like a production line, quite an industrialized event. In fact, we've been to was it Tony's passing?
Yeah.
And the next people were outside. You had a very tight slot, so to speak.
Yeah. My stepdad, it was I wasn't at his cremation, but my he was quite a sort of straight and actually often very judgmental fellow. And the next party, apparently, the people coming in the next party after his cremation, the smell of marijuana filled the air, which would have appalled him. And they were quite a wayward bunch. Of a social class and standing which he would not have appreciated, and that's the irony. That's the great poetry, isn't it, of life? I think.
Yeah, I can just imagine.
Yeah.
Don Murphy saying, "Awake is not only to grieve but to celebrate the life." Absolutely, 100%. Portuguese. Oh yeah, we've had that. Peter Bleach is talking about. Oops, wrong one.
Let's do it. Bolinhos de bacalhau. Don't sell turkeys. I give them away. All right.
Yeah. But they look like cassowaries. They are ginormous. So
what do you have to do? How do you cassowaries are terrifying.
Yeah.
How do you qualify for a free turkey then, Pete? How's that work then?
Pete, almost velociraptor size.
Do you know what?
Wow.
It's going to be like we're going to film the Portuguese Jurassic Park in there. So people are going to go to stay for the weekend at Pete's place. And it's going to be like that. Should we go for a walk in the grounds?
And they come out from behind bushes.
Well, yeah, and it's just a couple of drunks at the parties. Like Pete's told everybody not to go out in the dark at night, and a couple of people are like, well, "What could possibly go wrong? They're only turkeys." And they go out, they go for a walk in the garden, and they get chased like in that scene where the guy is in a toilet and the Tyrannosaurus Rex just lifts it up. It's going to be something like that, isn't it? Or a car covered in these cassowary, velociraptic cassowaries.
Well, Pete's saying they weren't scared of Alpha. I don't know who Alpha is. Is that your tractor or the dog? Dane. Okay. And they keep getting bigger. Woohoo. We're being hunted.
Yes.
Don
saying,
could
sell that, couldn't he? He could sell that as an adrenaline weekend at the Bleach farm, Quinta Bleach.
Yeah.
And you just go in and you have to run. you have to run across the thing. Some people watch, other people are runners. You
could bet on who's going to make it first.
Be taken out by a cassowary.
Carl, the theme from Das Boot for the wake.
Yes. Okay.
Victoria
that
and
was my stepdad, actually.
Oh, actually, what did he have? He did actually have an old Nazi tune, didn't he?
Well, we can't really say that, but it was a German marching song, which it's like everyone was at the when that came on.
Yeah.
It's a sort of tune you could buy. It's on Spotify, I think. It was like
Yeah, but I mean,
his choice.
Yeah, I mean, he got his last word, didn't he, your stepdad?
Yeah.
Victoria and Wolfgang are joining us from Lisbon. So hello, you guys. Yeah. You've joined us at a bit of a raucous bit. We've been talking about the power of ceremony,
man-eating turkeys.
Now we're talking about man-eating turkeys, and also how we might have an expat ritual or initiation. So let us know what your thoughts are. We've had some crazy ones, and it's been quite fun.
Wolfgang, have you ever had hooks in the nipples and been hung from a tree? And that's sort of, you don't have to answer that, but you're the sort of open-minded and very adventurous fellow who might have an interesting angle on that.
Oh my goodness, this is really quite lighthearted and fun today, isn't it?
Feel good Portugal. The clue is in the name.
Yeah, it is about feeling good, isn't it?
Although that wouldn't feel terrible.
No. Well, I mean, for some people, yeah.
Whatever floats your dust boat.
Oh, I was about to say that.
Yes.
And Victoria's saying yes to all.
Crikey. Okay.
Okay.
She's very open-minded.
Yeah. So, where are we now?
Thanksgiving. The man eating turkey for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So, yeah, we were putting a shout out actually to our American friends because like Thanksgiving is coming up.
How are you going to do it?
And you know, for a lot of us, we have a bit of expat guilt, don't we, around the holidays? You know, that we might not be meeting up with people that are dear to us, and we might not be flying home, especially not now at the moment. And yeah, I wonder how people are dealing with Thanksgiving. If it's your first Thanksgiving over here, what are your plans?
Oh, look at that.
I'd love a cuppa.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know, maybe we need to celebrate together. I mean, we're obviously not American, but we're happy to facilitate. And oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I'm wondering, you know, what are your plans? What are you guys up to? We've got from Don the Horst Vessel or Erica. I don't understand what that reference is. Do you understand that, love? The Horst Vessel or Erica? Oh, okay. I haven't seen that. Clocks go back. Are you staying on? Yeah, we're probably staying on until just gone midnight. We're not going to stay on for an extra hour. We've got quite a lot of stuff to do. I've still got to make the cake for a birthday party tomorrow, a 10-year-old birthday party. And my cakes are pretty, they've been pretty awful for the last few years. I've got to really pull it out the bag. Thanksgiving, the day I get a quiet day at work. Yeah. What is it you do, Square Eyes? Let us know. I'm sure Carl knows, doesn't he? Jean saying, I'll be in Tavira for Thanksgiving this year. And are you meeting up with friends, or are you kind of having a moment on your own? How are you making that work for you? Sounds nice. Pete Bleach is saying, I would love to keep them for Christmas, but they're nearly looking Diane in the eye. So we may have to have a long celebration of their lives with vegetables and gravy. Okay, thank you for that. Victoria and Wolfgang, sorry, I always called you Wolfbang, sorry, are saying we're open to having anyone over here in Lisbon. That's really kind. So yeah, if anyone is wanting to meet up, there's a great offer there. Square Eyes are saying, blimey, dark at 3:30. Yeah, it is. I noticed tonight that the night came in really, really early. Victoria's saying we had our CEF on Friday and we are all official. Wow, well done. Congratulations. So somebody actually had a suggestion way back in the comments that that is in itself one of the expat rituals, you know, that when you get through, sorry, I've got a bit of grounding issue on the mic. That it is like an expat ritual, you know, you've kind of got through like this initiation, like stage one. Right, where are we? Jean saying, I'm winging it at the moment, open to suggestions. Well, there you go. I'm sure we're going to come up with some suggestions. And if you are, you know, running an open house or something, let us know. Obviously Victoria's let us know. We're happy to help facilitate, put you in contacts and whatnot if you want. Although I should say, I like Carl and I, we used to live on site of a really big social enterprise and charity that helped people that had additional needs. And created social opportunities for them. And because we lived at this place, and because of the, you know, like we like to be a bit social from time to time, we used to do these bring and share Christmases where people could come and hang out with us. And it was by invitation. So it's not like we were inviting mad random people, you know, they were people from the charity collective that we already knew, you know. So we say, look, if you're on your own, come over and have Christmas with us. And the CEO of the charity, she was out at some gig and she met somebody who said she was going to be alone at Christmas. She just like invited her to have Christmas with Munsons, and it was an absolute nightmare. First of all, I was newly pregnant, and nobody knew I was pregnant, but I was like really like emotional roller coaster, really tired. But this woman, you know, she was invited to come and stay for like one night only. I'm talking about that crazy woman that came around to Christmas, because like Victoria's like Victoria is and Wolfgang have like saying, you know, they've got open house, which is really, really kind. Carl's saying bless you. And so the moral of our story, I mean, yeah, we're never going to do that again. I won't. In the end, this woman, right, she arrived a day early, and so we had to try and sort things out for her. Then she tried and stayed, like, well, she actually did stay for an extra night, because she'd said she'd A-okayed it with somebody else. She told stories about me behind my back to our other guests. She was horrible. She sat in front of all the roast potatoes and did this really big sneeze over them, so nobody would touch the potatoes, and she had all of the roasties to herself. But she was just a nightmare, wasn't she? Like,
you are so not over this.
It was absolutely horrendous. In the end, we actually had to physically evict her. She just wasn't going anywhere. And, you know, obviously we did like try to find out her story, and, you know, she had family didn't speak to her and this, that and the other. But yeah, that was a bit of a tense time. I do recommend that people, you know, find out a little bit about people before they come and
Pete, I'm working on Pete Bleach. I'm working on my comb over. It's integrated with my headphone band. Need a trim. I don't know if I've got an owner at the moment. Who's gone and got themselves a haircut in Portugal yet? Because that's a lot of fun. Never say limpar, which I thought meant just like tidy it up a bit. The woman just took the lot off. Remember that one?
Yes. And I also remember the one that that took about an hour and a half to do.
Oh, that was great.
Someone like cut one hair at a time, because me and some friends were waiting for you, weren't we?
That's
at
right.
a cafe down the road.
Yeah, I'll just pop in for 10 minutes and have a haircut. And I was gone for 90 minutes. And eventually all of the party was sat in the barbers with me, weren't they? Waiting for me to finish.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like there was a long wait. And this guy, he's an amazing legend in Tamar. He was, you know, our communication skills were okay between each other. Enough to get it was a very good haircut, and he was one of those barbers that was just, I guess, whilst no one else was waiting, he would just keep going and just like goes a tiny little bit there, and one of those do the ears and the nasal hairs and everything like you might get in Portugal. And at one point he got a picture out of a drawer. You know, it's interesting in a barber shop. They've always got interesting stuff in the drawers, haven't they? Their bits of kit and stuff. And he got a photo of an airplane out, and it was a plane that he survived a plane crash with his mate in. His mate was the pilot, and he crashed the plane, and they both got out of it, I think, alive. I think he certainly had. And he'd been on telly in Portugal. He said, "This is me," and he survived the plane crash. I found out so much about him in that 90 minutes, even with, you know, a slight language barrier. But yeah, it was really very good attention to detail. Wasn't it a good haircut, if I remember rightly? Because when you get to the kind of comb me over bit, when you've got to do the Pip Schofield, and the strands have to be placed quite strategically, and how you have to create the visual mass, you know, that you need a good barber who understands that sort of stuff.
I think if you're going to do a Pip Schofield, you've got to go grey, because like when
Pip makes it work on the grey.
Yeah, because like it's so fair that you don't see the skin underneath it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, no, that was the other thing. Was in Portugal, the woman bar, the hairdresser I went to, she's like Portuguese South African, very direct, and she's doing her thing. She goes, "Hey, have you ever thought about having a hair transplant?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't actually." Sort of bloody rude cow. But anyway, there you go.
She was really good though.
Yeah, she was great fun.
Great.
She was great fun.
Yeah. We got some great little things. So I was asking Square Eyes, how come Square Eyes has got the day off on Thanksgiving? It's I do cryptocurrency and metaverse at the weekends.
Come on, we do. Have we found out what metaverse is? Are you in this alternative world? And should we transfer to it? Because we're coming off Facebook as Expats Portugal. We're going to do all our streaming on YouTube and actually stay with the Twitter experiment, because their new thing, it's not Periscope anymore. You're live on Twitter, and I just thought that might lead to some interesting interaction with people. It hasn't really so far. But do we need to go in? Do we need to start broadcasting? Can you live stream into the metaverse, or am I just sounding like an old fart now who really doesn't understand what's going on? Which doesn't take much, does it?
Sorry, I was reading a comment.
Oh, sorry to bother you.
Sorry.
Do you want to share it?
Yeah. Mandy's saying possibly a way to celebrate would be a round robin on Feelgood or GMP or both on what we're thankful for.
Yes.
Well, I think we can definitely do
tonight. There's always a good. Now is always a good time for that.
Yeah. So let us know what you're thankful for right now, and we will do it on Thanksgiving as well.
And also, I mean, you really surprised me the other day. And I'm going to
Mandy.
I'm going to air and share. Mandy hasn't surprised me yet.
What have I done?
But
is it a nasty surprise?
I was saying, what should we do at Christmas with the show? And you said you should probably do a Christmas Day show. And I was thinking, well, actually, probably people wouldn't expect it, and probably not many people. You know, a lot of people are busy on Christmas Day.
Why did that surprise you that I said you should do a show?
Because normally you would say, you're not going to do a show, are you? Rather than you should probably do a show. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take advantage of that outbreak of goodwill and generosity. And but I think Boxing Day is better, because that's for my recollections of being alone on Christmas Day. Boxing Day is harder, because Christmas Day you're likely to get an invite somewhere, or you can enjoy the novelty. But if you're alone for 2 days at Christmas and it gets to Boxing Day and you've watched TV, got out for a walk and done everything, phoned people up, I think a Boxing Day show would be good. And we could do greetings, sending messages back home and Thanksgiving style, whatever people want to do.
Christmas Day is on Saturday this year, so we could do our show in the evening.
We could, couldn't we? Because hopefully the kids will be exhausted by 10 o'clock and they'll all be fast asleep in bed.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
So that's a great suggestion, Mandy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mandy.
Don saying, on customs, when does Santa come in Portugal? I don't know when he comes. I know in Denmark it's Christmas Eve.
Oh, it's it is. Oh, I'm thrown suddenly. Isn't it Christmas Eve where there's some present exchanging going on isn't that on church on Christmas Eve and then home for some presents?
Yeah, I mean, that's what our Portuguese friends have done.
Yes.
But those situations where you ask people, what is it that happens? And you talk to your friends and they say, oh, this is how we do it in Portugal.
Oh, yeah.
And you speak to other people and they say, oh, no, this is how it is. So it could just be the friends that we were talking to, because it's a bit like that in the UK as well.
Of course it is.
There
and
are
that's
some
our
people
naivety, isn't it? I mean, like, how do 10 million people all do the same thing? Could you tell us, please? And it's not how it works, is it?
Yeah.
Although that said, I mean, I think it's fair to say it is more standard and traditional, and you are likely to discover a bigger trend than you might in the UK over here in Portugal. But I think that's how it is, Don. I think it is church on Christmas Eve, and then go home and stay up late and open presents, and then eat mainly on Christmas Day. And it's bacalhau on Christmas Day, and fish and seafood seem to be quite popular on Christmas Day.
Yeah, because we had Christmas Day with our Portuguese landlady last year, and I know that she had all her Portuguese friends over the night before to do presents. Yeah, and church.
Yeah.
That
was such fun cooking for you two vegans on Christmas Day.
Yeah, must have been
such a sense of occasion. Here, some cabbage. Happy Christmas.
Mandy's saying, or a Zoom Thanksgiving where we can come together with food and relax and reflect on the year.
Sounds
That's not
great.
a bad idea.
Yeah,
That's
Mandy,
a great
all
idea.
sounds good. I mean, do keep in touch with us. Stick it on the forum at Expats Portugal, because we don't want anyone to feel alone or miserable on Christmas Day. That said, some people like it. Some people do want to be on their own. I mean, fair play to you if you do. But if you think like you might like a bit of company, albeit virtual, shout out. Keep in touch with me.
Yeah, I mean, your Thursday nights is a hookup anyway, isn't it?
Kind of the webinar.
Yeah, so maybe you could focus your webinar for
Christmas party is definitely already booked.
Okay,
we'll have a quiz or something like that. Bit of fun.
Excellent.
Jerry and his guitar.
Excellent. Max Flight is saying, I'm not surprised she isn't over it. Bless, that sounds awful. It really was, Max. I mean,
I quite liked her.
No, you did not. I was just Crazy
We haven't
woman.
got a Christmas card from her ever, have we?
No.
No.
We don't even remember her name. I mean, it was, I think, probably
Barbara, was it?
9 years ago now. It's a long
Right.
time ago.
That's a funny name.
Square Eye says, I do my own. Looks terrible. What's that?
What looks terrible?
I don't know.
Comb over?
Oh, maybe his hair. It's Square Eyes. Square Eyes. Are you a man or a woman, or is it even okay to ask? Like,
Yeah, may not want to respond, or none of the above.
Yeah, I'm just wondering,
How anonymous that all is.
Well, I'm just wondering how you prefer me to refer to you, like a Square Eyes, like, oh, you're a he or a she, or sorry.
They,
and I was
they.
I was wondering about Mandy. Actually, I was going to say, are you from America? I'm guessing,
As
I'm
we
reading
say
between
to
the
our
lines.
daughter quite a lot.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
American? She's spent more than half her life here, and she's because of the culture she watches. Let's put it that way. She's got quite an American accent, hasn't she?
At times, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way she intonates her words. Victoria, when we met up with you, you might have noticed that about Minnie. So Victoria's saying, potato unforgiveness. Wolfgang got a haircut at the Indian barber, €9.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, very good.
Pete is saying, looking awesome there, Carl. We had a funny one where this cute lad got his hair cut really short with patterns, and his mum came in and went mad at the barber. Do love barbers here.
I would love to see that. A Portuguese mum dressing down the barber. That could have gone on for some time, right?
I imagine so. Portuguese is saying, we have a great hairdresser in Lisbon. She does a head massage whilst washing the hair, worth every cent. That sounds great.
And fellas, do you prefer to have your hair done by a man or a woman? It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I see the merits of both. I do like the all-male atmosphere of a barber shop on occasion. And actually, the last barber shop I went to when we were living in Korea, it was Emilia. She was great. It was a very male. She managed to create a proper traditional barbershop environment with the new kind of upgrade stuff with all the products, because I guess that's how they need to make a living now. Didn't have that in my day. But I do like the all male vibe, and then I do like going into a women's hairdresser's occasionally, because it's just like a little bit more, a little bit more. I don't know, a little bit. So there's a little bit of a frisson or something or other.
Really?
Well, sexual tension.
Why would you be looking for that?
I'm not looking for it. It just happens. You know how it is.
No, I don't.
Right.
I nearly always have my hair cut by a woman.
It must all be in my head, right?
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? That is so sad. It's all in my head.
Anyway, moving on. Don is saying, talking about body hair. I don't think we were.
We were so not talking
we
about
weren't,
body hair.
but nice one. When I found one in my chest, I tied a knot in it so it would not pop back in.
Well, that's what I'm going to start doing on my head, Don, all right? I hope Jerry doesn't mind me sharing this, but the other night, he shared a story about how he thought he had a blue hair on his chest.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, and he's looking at it. It's quite a thick blue hair on his chest. It is someone I know. Okay, forget who it is. Somebody I know discovered a blue hair on their chest. And they, like you do, have a look in the mirror. It was a stitch from an operation many years ago that surfaced through the skin. That's why it's blue. Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Did it smell?
I didn't ask that. But if I'll ask him or her if they still have it, and they can send it over, and you can give it a sniff if you like.
No. Ooh. Oh, that's
kind of
rank.
Right. It's kind of upset the end of the show, isn't it?
No, not at all. So we're having a bit of a meta conversation going on here. So not your average globetrotter.
No,
Meta is not a new product. Facebook is being rebranded as a Meta product.
Square Eyes No, stop talking about it without telling us what it is, guys.
The metaverse is how I'll afford moving to Portugal to retire.
Exactly.
Meta is a new company. I like how Alphabet now owns YouTube and Google as semi-separate products.
Tax dodging, right?
Yeah.
No, the thing is, do we need then to talk to you?
The metaverse is gaming, NFTs. Facebook
what
just
is
bought
NFT? Non-fractional something taxation. Facebook just bought the name. Okay.
I know what NFT is, and I've forgotten it. That's why I was looking blank there.
But what I need to know is, Square Eyes, do we need to talk to you about how we create an expats Portugal environment in the meta?
Ooh.
So what's that? Crypto all the way? Yeah, fair play. I can understand
that. Could be great. We could just like be doing this from bed, couldn't we? Like with our little
avatars.
With our little avatars,
yeah.
pretending to sit here with
little
little headsets on.
Look, there's Carl's little avatar in the bed.
With a full set of hair.
Yes.
And mine with like
forgiving people who spit on potatoes.
Yes. Yeah, my avatar might be a bit nicer, mightn't she?
Compassionate, yeah.
I had a haircut in Portugal about 10 years ago. He then waved with the cutthroat blade.
Yes.
I was terrified to say no.
Yeah.
But for 3 days, my face was super clean, soft, best shave ever.
That reminds me of the first one I had in Portugal about maybe 15 years ago in Tamar. Not Tamar. Over at, where's that place? Near Tabua. Near Tabua. I decided I needed a haircut. Went in there, and that was the first time I properly had, the sculpted stubble thing. And he did it with a cutthroat, and it was delightful. It was proper blokey barber. And yeah, good haircut with the scissors, good cutthroat action as well. Really, really good. And not a word of common language between us. We'd managed to do it all with sign language and gestures and so on. It was great. Yeah, good memory that, Deagle.
Excellent. I'm just like flicking through all these different. You'll like this one, Carl. So Max Flight is saying, Carl, the metaverse is portrayed in popular media as a fully immersive online realm that looks similar to the real world but is computer generated. That's what
you're not selling it to me, Max.
Well, I guess it's a bit like what we've been seeing in films, sort of like suggested.
Yeah, Matrix or
There's so many like references to things like that, aren't there?
There are, and it clearly it is the way the human mind would lead us, isn't it? It would seem like the obvious thing to do, but do it at our peril, I think.
Yeah, Mandy saying we and Jim
anyway.
Are thankful for the work you're doing and how it's inspired us through the D7 process. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Mandy. Pleasure. Lovely to have you here tonight. How's Jim?
Yeah, let us know how Jim's doing. Midlife Crisis World Tour is saying Christmas Eve in Portugal after midnight mass. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Thank you for that.
So technically it's not Christmas Eve anymore though, is it?
That would be Christmas Day.
But it's like early doors. Okay, Portuguese open presents 1 minute after. Perfect. Is that new microphone getting in the way of your tea?
Yeah, it's because I'm left-handed. It's not so good, is it?
Oh, okay.
I'm going to have to drink right-handed.
It sounds all right, though. I'm enjoying this. This is worked fairly well. Just need to work on the backdrop here and we'll be well away.
I think we should start wrapping it up in a minute, but...
like a Christmas present, okay?
Yeah. Carl, I'm working Friday, Sun nights in Belfast, 24th, 25th, 26th. Just my rota in maternity. Usually busy.
Ah, okay. So what an amazing time giving birth to Eves or Noel's there. Or what do you get called if you're born on Boxing Day? I wonder.
I don't know, but I mean
Eve, Noel, and then what's 26? What's that going to be?
Who knows?
No.
I mean,
well, Deagle knows, I'm sure, on that, working on that sort of pattern.
I don't suppose everyone's called like Eve. Like we know a few people.
It's the law, isn't it?
No,
Dan.
Yeah, it's not exactly.
It's not very Christmas, is it?
No,
is it his real name though?
Oh well, who knows?
He might be
it's a funny time of year. Like our daughter, she was due just before Christmas and came out on New Year, and really tense time in a maternity unit.
Yeah.
I was born on the 20th, and my mum complained because she had to spend the whole Christmas in. Back then you had to spend 6 days in, which is quite a nice thing to do, I guess, if you're a first-time mum.
Confinement.
Yeah. Square Eyes saying would take me too long to explain, but if you allow links.
Square Eyes, join us on the morning show and let's have a chat about it. I mean, come on as a guest and talk because I'm not the only old fart here. I say that with due respect, but and I mean that as a kind of age gap thing where I think it's passed me by or something, or I can't relate very well. Perhaps you could join us as a live guest to explain it I see in my mind, I've got you as a a kind of what are the different sort of generation, like a millennial who is very digitally aware, and I am in a different universe to that. But it would be great to have that generation talk to the other about this experience. A bit like how I used to have to explain decimal currency to people in the 70s who were senior to me. You could come and do the metaverse one morning on the Good Morning Portugal show. I think people will be very interested in that. So let me know if you will. Carl@expatsportugal.com.
Yeah, and let us know if you are actually a millennial. You might not be at all.
Probably not, right?
I mean, that's the interesting thing, isn't it, on the internet? You just don't know, do you? So we're getting a few different suggestions as to what actually
Well, that's why I do my hair like
Portugal.
this, because actually I've got a very full head of hair, but I cut some of it off to make it look like I'm balding a little bit, to create a sense of maturity and age and wisdom.
Yeah, that comes across.
Being only 25. Bacalhau on Christmas Eve.
With a daughter that's older than you. Yeah, okay, right.
All right.
Midlife Crisis World Tour saying Bacalhau on Christmas Eve. We've also got, over the years, Christmas Eve seems to have become more the holiday than Christmas Day.
Interesting, yeah.
Deagle's saying dry cod, cabbage, big Portuguese food, Christmas Eve. I really love the cabbage dishes over here. It's amazing. I'm very grateful for that. Jeannie saying, I'm very grateful to have a family that entertains my wild ideas, like investigating retiring to Portugal, even as far as studying Portuguese with me. Well, that's amazing. Great
family.
Yeah, what
beautiful.
Great people.
Yeah.
Love of Christmas seems to be the same as Thanksgiving. Douglas Hughes is saying,
American millennial.
Bacalhau, it's like BBC, always repeats.
The legend lingers on.
Victoria saying we vegans enjoy a good tofurkey.
There's no need for that sort of language. Just for clarity, Carl. Yeah, fair play. So, and do you like a good stuffing as well, Victoria, on Christmas Day? Talk to Wolfgang.
Okay. Catherine is saying, hi, Louisa and Carl. I'm thankful to be feeling 90% after a few weeks of a few weeks. I thought it was a few days.
I don't know what you did to me, but I feel very different after the healing treatment I received from UK. I'm so grateful, and I want to talk to you, and I hope we get the chance to soon. It's a bit too much for. Let's meet in the metaverse and talk about it. No, let's meet in real life.
We could do meta healing.
Well, of course, and some say they already do, right? I mean, that can occur.
Remote healing, yeah.
Well, do you know what? This is very interesting suddenly now, and this is not necessarily
meta sex, meta love.
Why have you gone there? Because that's where all of humanity goes, right? It's their first question is
meta love making, meta
I mean, this is what we've done with
tantra.
This is what we've done with every invention, isn't it? That we've ever been blessed with. It's like this is so amazing. You know, we can create a better world with this. Oh, how can I make more money or have more sex using this technology? This is what happens to every single thing. But anyway, Kate, the metaverse is one thing, but my experience of the healing treatment I had with you was to have a healing take place in the unconscious. Now that to me, and this might be not an important, but an interesting note to end on. We already have the most infinite and deep place of human enrichment and entanglement in the unconscious, in the one self. And I think that's what happened in the treatment I had with you, is that's where I went. And that's where I think the greatest healing and greatest work takes place, beyond our conscious minds, beyond the conscious mind that creates a partial metaverse. Because the metaverse can only be as good as human minds. And I don't think human minds are as good as anything that is divine and unconscious. Let's drop that mic drop bombshell moment, leaving that there like a Bacalhau burp to finish the show with.
Oh my goodness, we've missed a whole bunch of comments here. I haven't touched. I'm nowhere near. Sorry, everybody. It's not me. It's Mrs. Ebb. Do you want to do a few of them now? We're gonna have to do a run through. First of all, I mean, these are all come in fast, really fast.
Yes.
There's a bit of
just as we go. This is always how it happens, right?
Peter Bleach, tofurkey, Sorry, just can't think of it in the same way as our huge, lovable, juicy, delicious, tender, succulent versus mildly mushroomy.
You see, that is damning with faint praise, isn't it?
Yeah.
How was it? Well, this was mildly mushroomy.
Portuguese, woman, hair every time. Not entirely sure what that is.
Woman hair. He likes woman hair.
Oh, okay.
He likes a woman to cut his hair, I think.
He doesn't like a hairy woman.
I don't know. He might do, but I don't think that's what that means.
I once went to an Indian barber and ended up curly.
With a bit of singeing, maybe, Doug? I don't know. How did that happen?
We've got a lot here about hairdressing. I'm a fan of a good old-fashioned barbershop where the barber has a beard and mustache, so you can see if they actually know what they're doing rather than some bald guy walking around. Yeah, I hear you. Totally hear you there. Wolfgang prefers a female hairdresser with his blonde mohawk, you know. I mean, it's pretty good style, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Midlife crisis is saying stitch sniffer.
What's that? Oh, yeah, that's you, that is.
Yes. We've got loads of people saying NFT, which actually wasn't anything that I thought it was, but non-fungible tokens.
Is that like mildly mushroomy?
I don't know.
Fungible tokens.
Yeah, loads of people have come in with that. So we can take that as read.
All right.
Peter Bleach, better than the UK. Remember a local guy who left me with third-degree burns after a hot towel treatment involving an absent-minded microwave and being too polite and scalded and suffocated to complain.
Very British, Pete. And do you remember? Pete will remember this. There was a barber called Oscar outside Barons Court Tube Station on the Piccadilly line in London. In the flat top era, when lots of people have flat tops, I went to him for a flat top. And he was a Polish man, Polish barber who'd been there for years. And suddenly, you know, he'd seen everything. He'd nearly gone out of business when the Beatles were around because nobody was having a haircut. And then he got into this flat top thing in the 80s. And he used to have a cigarette on all the time and eye watering because of the smoke going up into his eye and just constantly smoking while cutting your hair. And he cut my ear once with the cutthroat just whilst he was sort of trimming the sideburns. And he must have cut it on a vein, because it just wouldn't stop. So he put a bit of tissue paper on, then another bit of tissue paper. And by the time I got out of the I looked like Van Gogh with this blood-soaked tissue paper collection stuck on my ear as I left the shop with a nice new flat top. And I got a wrong-shaped head for that. Much more a Jimmy Bronski than a classic flat top guy. But you might remember Oscars there, Pete.
I had a terrible haircut once. I was managing a campsite in France, and we had this French hairdresser come and stay. And
there's a joke in there.
Well, no, I mean, sadly, the joke was on me. But this woman, you know, we got to know her over like the week that she was staying, and she kept saying, "Look, I'd love to do your hair," you know. And I've been growing my hair long. Because it takes quite a while, but you know, I'd been really diligently growing my hair long, and I just wanted a perm put in. So this is like the late 90s. Okay. And she said, yeah, I'll put a perm in. And I said to her, look, my hair really takes to perming. So
easy on the stuff.
Yeah, really go easy on it. And she said, look, I've been doing this for years. It's fine, love. And well, that's what she would have been saying. But
French poodle coming up.
No, worse. My hair literally was like an afro. It actually
have you got a photo of that?
No, because what happened was she said, oh, well, do you know what, your boyfriend said he wanted you to have a French crop, and she just started hacking into my hair.
Your boyfriend said?
What
kind of hairdresser is that?
Yeah. So I like went from having hair down here. So I had like hair down here, and then I walked out like having like an awful, like slightly pube-like French crop, and I was gutted. I wore a hat for
what is
ages.
A French crop?
Well, like, you know, like a sort of like pixie haircut, which actually is all right, but
on the right person.
But no, I have had really short hair. You've not seen me like that, and but you know, I didn't want that. I was growing my hair long.
French curly crop. So
it was horrible.
And did your boyfriend want that?
He hated it. Yeah. He went nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out to like give her what for, and she'd already buggered off.
Yeah,
so she realised that she'd made this huge mistake. Yeah. Literally packed her bags, and as I walked off crying to find a hat to put on and to hide for the rest of the day, she just packed her stuff up and drove off the campsite. Never saw her.
So to err is human, but to coiffer is what French hairdressers do. That was a coiffeur.
Yes, it was a coiffeur.
Yes.
It was terrible.
Coiffeur.
Yes, I've never had a haircut in France after that. And I lived there for the best part of 4 years, but I had my haircut when I went home.
Good.
So, oh my goodness. Anyway, we've got so many
the
different
pubes look. It didn't catch on, did it? It was the lady dye that nobody ever went into the hairdressers and said,
"Can I have that pube look?" That like
that girl
curly...
in France, like that English girl in France had that time.
Yeah, no. Okay. We've got. I also have to spend too much of my time in the world of NFTs and metaverse for work. I'll be happy to never speak of it again when I move to Portugal.
Well, you're safe with me, Ken. I will not mention it.
Can't wait for my simpler existence in Portugal.
Nice.
When are you moving over, Square Eyes?
Yeah.
Let us know. Portuguese. Digal. What Mrs. Portuguese does.
Margarita.
Okay. So both midwives.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all good. Love midwives.
Yep. Some of the best people in the world.
Yeah. Our midwife over here was amazing, wasn't she?
She was.
We got her a big cigar because she's a big cigar smoker, and she was awesome.
She's a big cigar smoker.
Yeah.
Boxing Day in Ireland is St. Stephen's Day, so maybe Stephen. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you might be called Stephen born on Boxing Day.
Carl, you're so wrong. Right.
Why?
I'm 50 plus.
I thought that said I'm 504. Which is only because my screen's cracked here.
And because you're 50 plus and your eyesight is starting to...
Yeah, very funny. Okay, so...
he said, I'm an old fart, don't worry. He's not a millennial. Okay. I've just assumed that you're a guy as well.
Yes,
so,
I hope you don't smell like one. Okay, well, all right, we can still talk, can't we?
The Munson verse.
That's not going to catch on.
No, I don't think it will. No. It doesn't even catch on with us.
I try to escape it all the time.
So Don saying Stevens, Stephanine. That's an interesting one.
Stephanie. Yeah. Okay, so that's the 26th. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the answer.
Okay. 27 years night shift in a maternity hospital. Love my job. Best job ever.
Yes.
Well, you must have seen so much. That's a good look, Carl. It works for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
What is that? The
comb over the headphones. I think. Or the big blood, or the big little blood on the ear. I don't know which the Van Gogh. Maybe Jean's talking about.
Yeah. What about the Betterverse?
Well said.
That
Doug.
sounds like a good idea.
I don't think Doug knows what a metaverse is either, like me. But we'll go straight to a Betterverse with Betterware, with only Betterware products to use.
The Wisdom Granny is kind of amused by this. Ears bleed like crazy.
They do, yeah.
How do you know? That's what I want to know.
Yes, Wisdom Granny.
How do you know that?
Stop it, Wisdom Granny.
Don saying thanks for a great evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Any photo of the hair? Sadly not. I would never commit that. It was horrible. I've got a photo from about a month later when it just started to grow.
I have seen that one. I think the permy one.
That was when I was 15.
Was it
a bit Nicole Kidman? You know,
Kevin Keegan. I was thinking. Go on, carry on.
Oh, I know which one you're on about now.
Yes.
Yeah. Beleza.
What's
that?
That means, I think that's good health, isn't it? Good
health. Okay.
Good health.
Okay,
beauty. Beleza is beauty because there's a section of supermarket, Beleza.
Okay. Jeannie's saying, I went for a shortcut from having very long hair. The stylists were so busy chatting to each other that she cut mine shorter than my husband's. I can rock a pixie. Not so much the cut she gave me. Oh, I really feel for you. It's a bit of a shock when you're not expecting that.
This is such a rich theme, isn't it? We could have our own. We could have the hair in the chair haircut podcast because it reminds me of when my dad took me when I was a kid, and my dad always used to fall asleep. I do it now, but he fell asleep. There were two barbers. We were sat side by side in a male barber shop in Bristol. There was a pet shop next door, I remember, and we were in chairs, the red leather chairs. You get pushed up, don't you? And the kids sit on a little bar that goes on the chair. So I sat on the bar on the chair, and the Bristolian barber would have said, "All right, what do you want for the bay there?" And my dad said, "I'll tell you when to stop." And then so he starts cutting my hair, and my dad sits down in the barber's chair and like. So the guy just keeps going. He's keeping going, and I go home and I find a hat.
Your mum must have
My mum was so mad with my dad because I went home looking like a billiard ball. It was not good.
Oh dear.
Mm.
Oh, I remember when Digby had his haircut at that lady's down the road from us in Korea, and she basically shaved it all off, didn't she?
You did it as well. You gave him a COVID cut, didn't you? He looked pretty good, I thought.
Oh yeah, but that's before we realised we could go out. I mean, and he was so upset. Like he hated having no hair.
He's quite fair, and the way she did it made him look like something from 1930s Germany.
Yeah,
it was quite
bless him,
formal looking.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Should we wrap it up there?
I think so. So
yes.
Jeannie's saying I cried, but it was a few years ago. So I'm guessing you've healed from that experience.
But it's amazing that so many people have got so many stories about barbers and hairdressers. This is great. We can kick off with it again next week, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Difference between a good haircut and a bad haircut is 2 weeks. Yeah, absolutely.
Well said.
Yeah. I mean, we have to just
Hails from the hair chair. There's a new podcast.
There we go.
Yeah.
We have to just get it in context, don't we? So Square Eyes, you've lived in Korea. Oh no, not Korea.
Yes, it gets them every time. That is Curia, beautiful place in
Korea.
Portugal. Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's not a place where you go for a career either.
No, but it was literally a career move when we went there.
Yeah,
but it was a lovely place. It's a thermal spa village, really.
Yeah.
And there used to be there used to be a casino there, and there's a beautiful Belle Epoque hotel called the Korea Palace, which, I mean, if we were so blessed and lucky to live next door to that, and it is a delightful place, and you chance upon it driving down an avenue of plane trees, and it's you moved then you've been behind the monitor on the other side of this. I thought, what the hell is that in the office? It's you. I just haven't seen you move for a little while.
The funny thing is, I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I
you see these hands coming up.
Yes, I think I'm on a video call, and I didn't realise that you're literally just over.
This is what the metaverse is like. Going to be like.
Okay,
but weirder. Okay, wow. It's Curia. Check it out. Anyone who's coming to Portugal, if you're driving north and you get beyond Coimbra on the IC2, pull in. It's well worth pulling in, driving down that avenue. It's right slap
bang in between Coimbra and Aveiro, isn't it?
That's right. And you can do that journey on the railway as well, which is really good.
Yeah, because Korea's got a fantastic little station.
Yep.
It's a great place.
With a brilliant wine shop. Yep.
So we're getting a couple of people saying good night now.
Good night.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome show. Muito obrigada. Boa noite. Fica bem.
Cindy
Thank you so much,
let's
Cindy
work.
B.
In all seriousness, I think it would be lovely to have a meaningful ritual about burning your longboat, coming to Portugal, making a new life here, and we'll work with some Portuguese people to make it special.
Yeah,
love
that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
I think that's key. We do have to have some Portuguese people do it with
us. Of course.
Jeannie, good night, and thank you for what you do.
It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure.
Deagle saying, good night, God bless. Great fun tonight. Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You too,
right back at you.
You go, man.
Yeah, thanks, folks. Had a blast. Great fun. Starry eyes.
Great to meet you.
Cindy B saying yes. Jeff Jackson. Boa noite.
Hey up, Jeff.
Hello and goodbye. Jeannie is saying boa noite. So from us, have we got a play out music yet, love?
I don't know. I mean, press one of those buttons there and see if any music comes on. It might not.
Oh, we're in your. Are we in your brand?
Try it. Press the pink button and see what happens there.
The pink. Oh, let's see.
There we go. What?
It's a bit cheesy. Let's do it.
Sounds like
is this one of your that guy who's made some songs
Warren.
for you?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, let's.
Documentation. Rhymes with constipation, as you'll find out. Thanks, Warren. Thanks, everybody.
Lots of love to you all.
Bye-bye.
My new nation. D7 on a time.
Come in with me.